Hello, and welcome back to the grand finale of this 105-year game. I'm here once again with Ezio. Hi, Ezio.
One last time.
We're nearly there. This is the very last one. I mean, it's been absolutely incredible to see what's happened as we've gone through this. Actually, on that note, I should mention a couple of things that happened in the last week. The 2021 Web Diplomacy World Cup has just finished the qualification stage. It's now in the finals, and both our teams made it through. So that's that's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, we finished first and second from our respective groups.
Yes, and also the pacifist game ended yesterday, I think. Which,
No way!
in case people don't know what the pacifist game is, it's a game that's been going on web diplomacy for the last 5 years. I was involved to start with, and the idea is you are not allowed to move your units. If you move a unit, you will be kicked out of the game. That is how I lost. I moved a unit after like 3 years of playing. Because I got bored. You are also not allowed to go into civil disorder. If you go into civil disorder, you will get kicked out of the game. And whoever is the last player standing wins. So it's an endurance test of how often you can enter orders. And that was won by Xerxes yesterday, which was Saturday the 10th of April 2021. Congratulations, Xerxes.
Who did he beat out? Who was the final?
Beat TR Prado, I believe. Which
Jeez.
they were just going with just the two of them for ages and ages and ages. But yes, that is technically... I don't think it's actually even the longest game of all time, because there's another one where a bunch of players all got together and wiped every unit off the board except for one Turkish army in North Africa. So that person just continuously readies up and makes the game go to some ridiculous end year, but... Pacifist is still legendary. They're like the three legendary games of web diplomacy in terms of length. You have that one where everyone destroyed all their units, that one where nobody moves, and this one right here, which now we are going to get back to.
Which remarkably approximates the one where nobody moves.
This is true.
Like,
well,
the
no.
average move for every unit in this game has definitely been hold.
I don't think so. I mean, I feel like a lot of these units have moved a fair bit.
I mean, okay.
I suppose we'll see.
Perhaps there's recency bias here. Perhaps I'm
This is
judging
possible.
too much by these last few years, but...
Certainly these last few years have been less... have seen less movement than the previous ones. If we're going to do a quick reminder on what's just happened, for the first time in forever, the Italian homeland is under threat. There is an Austrian army in Naples here, there is an Austrian fleet in the Adriatic, a Russian fleet in Ionian Sea. Interestingly, though, Italy did manage to somehow miraculously pick up a build in Venice. They took Brest at the same time as Austria decided to go for Naples, which was Russian, instead of Rome or Venice, which were both Italian. And we've still got the Austrian at the top of the power rankings, but I think we both agreed that the Austrian would be in such a stronger position if that Army Venice build hadn't happened, right?
Yeah. Still a good position despite that build, but not... If without that army in Venice, Italy just gets crushed. You expect Rome and Venice to fall this year. As is, it's much worse.
Yeah. So, with that bit of background done, shall we move into spring of 1991?
Let's get the show on the road.
Alright. Spring 1991.
Well, there goes the Austrian position.
Yep.
That was fast.
Well, I think the Austrian being top of the power rankings lasted all of a phase.
Yep.
They lost Romania here, and the Russian walked into Greece, which feels like a terrible move. Like, you have the advantage on Italy for the first time in this game.
Yeah, I think Russia made a very large mistake here.
mean,
Yeah.
I guess it's specifically with the intention of, I want to get Bulgaria, Romania, and Greece, and maybe
Okay.
get my solo from the Austrian centers, but I don't know, it feels like it's easier for Russia to win without Italy being a factor, especially
Yes.
since Italy's primary objective here is to make sure nobody wins.
Yes. I 100% agree.
Yo. Well,
Poor Austria. That's so sad.
it should be noted their position isn't like the Austrian position isn't completely insolvable. It's just unsalvageable. They can take back Greece here. They have a fair number of units around Galicia. They have four. No, sorry, around Romania. But this is all fighting for provinces they should already have locked down, right? And you've got those two Italian units in Tyrolia and Venice to worry about.
Yeah.
Literally the only upside, Germany has just moved to Prussia, so that's a plus.
Yes, when you combine that with Russia attempting to convoy into Holland, it seems likely that Germany and Russia are actually at war. But this just doesn't benefit Austria here because Italy is still pressuring Austria from Austria's west. So Austria is not going to make gains against Russia, especially not while Russia has units in Galicia, Ukraine, Sevastopol, etc.
Yeah.
We expect Germany to make gains because Germany is the one who's not feeling the pressure from Italy. The only units Italy has are North Atlantic Ocean and Brest, which can't really stop Germany from making progress. So,
Should be noted though, Italy can take a German build whenever they want to with that army in Burgundy here.
yep.
Just sitting next to Paris. Although once they have, that is kind of it. They don't really have the ability to take anything more. So
Yep.
I
And I mean,
expect them to take that build as soon as they have an open center, right? They kind of need to with the position in their homeland being what it is.
kind of, but also not really. Once Western Med gets into Tyrrhenian Sea, Rome can be supported into Naples, guaranteed, disbanding that unit. So then you get your build that way in Rome, which will then be vacated.
That's true.
So
And the fact that
I
there's nothing
think,
in Ionian now means that it's a lot less urgent to put fleets on the board, for example.
yeah, and that's the thing from Russia. I think this is just too short-sighted. Um, if Russia had waited a bit longer to make this play, I don't think Germany will move back nearly as hard against Russia. I think because Russia, probably in the negotiations last year, made it clear that they were not willing to eliminate Italy, Germany felt they needed to make a move against Russia.
Hmm.
I don't think they make that play if Russia sits back, does what Germany did, and just didn't and hold most of their units, and just let Ionian even take Tunis.
Yeah,
Right, that's what we all thought was happening, but instead he ticked off Austria, and now here we are.
yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, and Russia can't even. I mean, they can make a bit of progress, but it just feels like it's going to put them back in the same position that they've been in for however many years. Which, to be fair, did almost lead to them soloing a while ago, but it doesn't look like it's similar to that position right now. The solo one, it's just going to lock you into the four-way war forever. uh, as
Yeah, a
opposed
four-way
to
war
the
where one side is not trying to win.
yeah, as opposed to the three-way war where everyone is trying to win, which is generally you have a better chance there.
Yes.
So, are there any specific tactics we need to discuss here? Notice the German doesn't need to cover Berlin anymore because the Russian fleets are all out protecting North Sea, which is good for him, I guess. If Germany
Yeah.
can get a build there and a fleet in particular and go up to Baltic, this Russian position could fall apart basically
Yep.
immediately.
But until Germany gets that, this position from Russia can hold forever. these three fleets supporting North Sea, and the army in Denmark is not going to be broken by these three German fleets where they are.
Yeah, it depends whether the Italian decides to cut Norwegian, right?
Yeah,
But
but I don't think Italy would work against Russia at the moment, would be my assumption.
they don't seem to have much reason to. That's true. Especially with the Russian now attacking Austria, Italy's got to be happy with that.
Yeah.
Um,
Unless the argument could be, well, I know that you're going to work against Austria anyways because you want Romania, etc. So I can help Germany take North Sea, and then he can make progress against you because I think Germany's less of a solo threat than you are. I think that's the argument Italy could make, but
but they don't have to make it right now anyway. They can
you know,
just
they can
wait
wait for
until
a long time.
Russia is actually more of a solo threat. So, yeah.
Short-lived number one in the power rankings for Austria.
Yep. I mean, I'm not going to move them. They get to stay there for 2 years because that's when we do our power rankings.
Yep.
But yeah, goodbye, Goldie. You're going back down again, I think. Shall we go ahead to fall?
Sure.
Okay, fall 1991. Well, yeah, Austria loses two, right? Romania and Bulgaria. Oh no, they go plus Warsaw. Nice negotiations. They're getting the German to support them into Warsaw, getting like a guaranteed hit. And the Italian didn't even bother going for them; just kind of backed off of them entirely. Well, I say backed off of them entirely. They are quite clearly going to blow up Naples, but that was kind of a given anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So
Interesting. I really like these Russian tactics down here. I don't believe it was possible for Goldie to keep two centers. I think he was guaranteed to go -2 from Russia, or ignoring Warsaw. But between Romania, Bulgaria, and Greece, I think these were the best possible Russian moves.
Yeah, because even if you attack Greece with Serbia and Albania here, and then go 3 on Romania, which is your way to take 2 of them, Romania just gets into Serbia then, and then you're in trouble. But Austria does somewhat counter it by taking Warsaw this way.
Yes.
Yeah, but it still works out pretty well for the Russian. Romania and Bulgaria. Plus they have Fleet Aegeum, which is always a nice place to have a fleet. The only downside, no army Warsaw.
I take it back. Assuming Austria uses Galicia for Romania, I need to make that clear. Assuming Austria uses Galicia on Romania, there is a way for Austria to take two, to hold 2 of the 3, but still be losing 1. But there's no reason for Austria to use Romania, or to use Galicia on Romania instead of Galicia for Warsaw, especially when in the chat, presumably Germany said, "Hey, I'm supporting you into Warsaw." I need to make that clear.
You would think so.
Yeah, if this was just random and Goldie just randomly threw Galicia at Warsaw and Germany randomly supported Galicia to Warsaw, then I don't even want to play anymore.
That's for sure negotiated, yeah. But the Russian will have a build coming up, so they will be able to fill up Moscow. I think just one build, because they lost Warsaw, yeah. But
yeah,
one build
and what
is
does Goldie
enough.
take off? Naples?
I mean, it's gotta be Naples, right? It's getting
I
blown
want
up
to convoy
anyway.
Naples to Tunis.
I mean, what Tyrrhenian is gonna cover Tunis, or North Atlantic
Are you
Ocean
sure
is gonna.
about that? If Tyrrhenian
No,
covers
okay.
Tunis, that means like
Tyrrhenian actually can just stay there. North Atlantic went down to Mid Atlantic. It's gonna go to Western Mediterranean or North Africa and blow up Tunis
exactly,
anyway.
and it's going to North Africa. But you see, there's only then those 2 units. So if you convoy into Tuscany, you can hold Tunis. Or excuse me. Sorry, convoy to Tunis. You hold Tunis.
Yeah, but how is that helpful?
Because you're now in Tunis.
You've got an army in Tunis. That's like the worst
Yeah.
thing to have in Tunis.
I mean, it's definitely worse than a fleet in Tunis, I agree, but it's still a unit in Tunis and a unit in Ionian, right? How does Italy doesn't break you?
I feel like at this point you want to try and peace out with Italy again.
No, you need
Because
to eliminate
yeah, but
Italy must die.
with the Russian going at you like this, there's no way you can maintain wars on both fronts, right?
Watch me.
Not with the German having a truce with the Italian.
Yeah, but Germany's attacking Russia.
Yeah, but not in a huge way. It's just you fighting two powers right now. I think it looks like they've come to some agreement where he's giving up Naples anyway. So I think that is what's going to happen. They are just going to.
I think he's going to disband Naples. I'm just saying. I think you should strongly consider convoying into Tunis here. Like, if a unit is going to be blown up, force disbanded, it's really beneficial to keep that unit on the board if you can convoy it away. Those are moves to keep your eyes on because they frequently destroy the enemy's position. In this case, though, you can blow up Naples and just convoy Albania to Tunis and accomplish the exact same thing. So,
Oh yeah,
fine.
that's actually true. That seems to work better. It also doesn't directly tell your opponent that, hey, I'm keeping this unit on, so I'm doing something with it. Clearly.
Okay, but I mean, the advantage of keeping Naples on the board is then Italy needs to use 3 units to guarantee capturing Naples. Against bad opponents, they will use 3 units to take Naples this turn, and then you can convoy out to Tunis. The problem is, good players will simply put 2 on Naples while Tyrrhenian Sea covers Tunis, and then they'll tap Ionian once they're in Tunis, so you can't convoy it into Tunis anymore. Of course, keeping Naples around gets completely hosed by good tactical play, but we can expect poor tactical plays from the Hangman, I'm sure.
Oh man. Yeah, I think it's fairly fair to say that Naples is coming up.
And Army Warsaw is going to be the Russian build, yeah? Or excuse me, Army Moscow.
Army Moscow for sure, yeah.
Right. Let's see them.
Okay, let's go ahead to the winter here.
Wow, surprise, surprise.
Wow, yeah, Naples comes off. I mean, it is the right move. You want to try and piece out the Italian here because you don't have the units to contest them both at the same time.
It's not the fun move.
I think after 90 years fighting, you kind of more focus on trying to win than on the fun move, right?
Watch me.
Well, let me know the next time you're in a 100-year game. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Oh my. Okay, let's go to the next. Let's go to the spring.
Okay. I think that was. Is that a thing on the bingo card where you go to the thing ahead of me?
Well, okay, but it specified that you needed to go way in depth analyzing a specific move on it.
Oh, that's true.
But I think we should make it more just I move on too early because that makes more sense. Yep. But this bounce in Tyrolia between Germany and Austria is super punishing. So Italy convoyed Rome into Tunis, and Italy took Naples from Apulia. So if they had not bounced in Tyrolia, there would be nothing defending Venice, and they would simply have taken Venice with strength too, assuming Germany was willing to support Austria and or vice versa. Instead,
so I don't think Germany would attack Italy, based on the fact there is an army in Marseille and Italian fleets in the Mid-Atlantic Ocean and the English Channel. Germany already has hostilities with Russia. They really don't want an enemy on the other side as well. But it would be kind of hilarious if Germany and Austria worked together.
Center count here, okay? So Austria and Germany currently have 16 centers. Italy and Russia currently have 18 centers. Assuming Austria and Germany take Venice from the Italian, that would put them at 18 centers, and Italy and Russia also at 18 centers.
17. Yeah.
17 each. Yes. It puts them at the exact same center count, which means you can fight that war. You can win.
Okay. I'm sure that's always true. No matter whether you're the center powers and they're the ones in the safe edge positions or not. To be fair, I think that, so if the German got a break on the Russian side, they could absolutely contest the Italian position in the west here. The Italian only has 3 relevant units. And Germany obviously has far more than that. But with Russian fleet in the North Sea, Russian army in Denmark, it's just not going to happen.
Okay, but you say that, but look at how Russia's tactical moves. If Russia, like, there are so many tactical outs in so many of these positions that you can make moves happen. Um, I believe Germany is not playing this particularly well, which is going to make things very difficult. I think it's fair. Um, Namely, I don't believe that Germany should be focusing so much on holding this line where they're currently occupying every center that the North Sea is adjacent to and will never break the North Sea.
Mm.
I believe they need to be more flexible and, especially in the spring, vacate some of these centers in the spring to see if the North Sea moves anywhere, get better position, and then maybe they can, if for example, they had a fleet in Clyde and a fleet in Edinburgh, then suddenly you can take the Norwegian Sea while Belgium cuts North Sea, and then you can make a play on the North Sea. But as long as you're just slamming your face into here, then these 4 units from Russia are currently occupying 5 from Germany, 6 if you include Liverpool. So that that's just not a position that's going to work if you're trying to fight on even center count. You can do it if you're ahead, but they're not.
I think, honestly, actually, so 2 things I want to mention here. First, if we go along that line of thought, it would actually have been kind of interesting to see what would have happened if Holland had moved to Ruhr here. Denmark gets convoyed out, but into a position where it can be blown up fairly easily, and Kiel gets into Denmark, which means
Oh, that's just really, really good for Germany.
Skagerrak has to turn around. Yeah, obviously you have to bet on the Russian unit being convoyed to the right place, but that would be pretty good if it turns out well, if it all works out. But
Yeah,
the
I
other
think that
thing,
would be fantastic for Germany.
the less risky approach would just have been to take Warsaw for yourself last turn instead of giving it to Austria, and then build Fleet Berlin. That was just the obvious one, and we didn't really discuss it at the time. But why didn't Germany do that?
I think the argument is Austria wouldn't have gone for Warsaw. I don't know if Austria would have supported Germany into Warsaw, and if they didn't get 3 on Warsaw, it was not a guaranteed capture.
Right. Yes, because Ukraine could have held it. But yeah, given what we saw, Germany could have gone after Warsaw. That would have been the better choice, but obviously that's with the benefit of hindsight. But yeah, in the board's current position, I think what Germany really needs to do is just find a build. And if they can do that, they're kind of set. Because
If they
Fleet
find a
Berlin.
build, Scandinavia is going to fall very quickly.
Yeah. But it's hard to see where that build's coming from. They do have the advantage of Marseille no longer being in Burgundy, so they do have the chance to actually get that build, even if Italy doesn't want them to. But it's a long shot to see where that build comes from.
Yeah, I mean, it does depend on how much Italy doesn't want them to. Italy can still move English Channel and Mid-Atlantic Ocean into, say, Wales and Irish Sea, and then Liverpool falls.
That's true.
So, yeah. It's harder now than when Italy was in Burgundy, adjacent to an undefended Paris. But, oh well.
Yep. I mean, so what else happened on this board? We saw the conflict over Warsaw turned out very well for the Russian. They decided to attack Livonia instead of support holding Warsaw, which I guess is reasonable. It's just saying, I don't want to just be stood here forever, because then you'll make progress and I won't. But obviously the wrong call here.
Yeah.
And it got punished. Back into Galicia it goes. That's not the worst spot for it to be in. It's still adjacent to the Balkans and all that, but Austria's going to have some painful disbands coming up because they're losing Naples as well.
Yep, it is nice because Sevastopol made it into Armenia. Romania is a guaranteed capture, I believe.
1, 2, 3. Yep, should be.
So that's nice.
Bulgaria
But
is also, right? Oh no, Bulgaria isn't because you can double tap
yeah,
Serbia and Greece with the Aegean Rim.
yes, absolutely. But Romania does, and if Romania falls, then Bulgaria again becomes a likely capture. They are quite related to each other in that sense.
Yep. So Austria could get back to securing their homeland and Balkans again, but that's back to where they've been for most of this game, where they have Italy on one side, Russia on the other, and just are squashed in there. They've kind of lost their chance to grow right now, or at least grow strong.
Yeah, it's just it feels so bad.
Yep. After that power play that they had, and it just all went wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, it feels to me like Russia isn't playing to win because of that move. I struggle to see how Russia ever solos this game with Italy being at 7 and without any pressure on Italy. I don't. Yeah.
So it's actually an interesting thing here because usually you would consider Italy to be like one of the more natural allies of Russia, right? If you're going
Yes.
for a solo as Russia, Italy is, well, Italy and France in particular are the best allies to have because they're on the other side of the board to the point where they can work with you, but they're not. The way you end up working with them ends up with you not being on a stalemate line, so you can push through and take a win fairly easily. That's not the case here, mainly because Italy has these different objectives. I think it would be perfectly fair for Russia to say, hey, you know, Italy is my best ally in this game based purely on the board, right? You kind of want a strong Italy on the other side because when they push in, you can also push in, but they're not going to push in if it's going to give you a win, or even let you close to a win. Right now, they're just playing for the draws, so they can just hang back and say, "I'm never going to attack Austria. I'm never going to attack Germany while you have a shot at this," and then you're just out. This is why Russia really, really, really needed to not mess up the Austrian attack on Italy. But here we are now. This is what's happened, and so yeah, we have to commentate on the board as it is, not as it would have been. Is there anything?
Possible this is why the game ends only 15 years from now because they decide we can't do anything anymore.
It's
I'm
very
pretty sure if
possible.
Italy was off the board, this game goes for much longer.
It's very
I'm confident.
possible. Yeah. In fact, well, I actually think it would end fairly soon if Italy goes off the board because one of those three powers is going to get the upper hand. Right? It's much harder to hold a, especially Austria, Germany, Russia. It's really hard to hold that in balance when all three players are playing for a solo.
I agree, but I think they're all going to be cutthroat enough to switch repeatedly. Um, and I think I would not be surprised to see that one go on for a long time. But whatever, that's not the world we're living in. So I
Yep.
think we should go and see the fall.
Let's go ahead to fall 1992. Here we go. That's not on the bingo card. Italian NMR. But hey, I guess they didn't need to do anything. This is basically what they would have done anyway, except maybe Tyrrhenian Sea to Ionian, I think. Venice to Tyrolia might have helped them as well. Although, maybe they're working with Germany here, given that they're so close with Germany in the north.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Italy would have ordered in this position, but I don't think they're particularly sad with how things went.
Yep, you were correct that Romania was taken. Interesting.
Not in a guaranteed fashion, though, because Galicia went and tapped Warsaw instead of tapping Ukraine.
Yeah.
That would have been very punishing. Austria would have had to make full 2 more disbands instead of only 1, but didn't punish, so not a problem.
I imagine that Germany offered Austria support into Warsaw publicly to try and make it so that Russia wouldn't cover Livonia up here. And that seems to have worked out perfectly. Russia actually has a problem in the north right now. because St. Petersburg now has an enemy unit adjacent to it.
Yeah, you were saying where does Russia get his build? Well, or excuse me, where does Germany get his build? Well, Russian dot in St. Pete could be it.
Yep. Although Russia does have a big massive armies over here, so not sorry, Russia does have big massive armies, so Germany is going to have a hard time progressing still. Just this is a slightly better position than it was before. Yeah.
Yeah, as Germany, I'd much rather have an army in Livonia than I would in Prussia.
And I mean, there's not a ton to talk about on this board. We can look more in depth at what happened in the Balkans exactly. Russia goes for an attack on Serbia, which was an odd choice. I suppose it counters. Does it counter an attack on Bulgaria? I think this does counter an attack from Serbia to Bulgaria, right?
This means that Bulgaria cannot be taken this turn because Aegean tapped Greece and Romania tapped Serbia.
Yes.
And Bulgaria was thinking, I'm probably holding anyways, so I might as well tap Serbia. I might as well support Romania to Serbia. My thought process would be Bulgaria is almost certainly getting cut by Greece, so I might as well move to Serbia myself. But supporting is... None of these moves were going to matter, let's be real here.
Yeah, this is true. And both powers will remain even, I think. Because plus Warsaw minus Romania.
I take it all back. You know, it would have mattered. Bulgaria supported Aegean to Greece. That's funny.
Oh boy, that would have actually been huge. Well, I say it would have been huge. Greece would have retreated to Albania, and then you've got an Austrian fleet in the Aegean, which is...
Yeah, but then you're building, and you get to build an army in St. Pete, and Austria has to disband too still.
That's true.
So probably Galicia, Trieste, and Austria is very unhappy.
Yeah. So yes, that is actually fair. That would have made a difference. But as is basically all that's happened is Warsaw was swapped for Romania. Austria's in a pretty good position, but has to disband. Probably gonna be Fleet Eastern Med coming off, right? Eastern Med is a bit stuck.
Yeah, it feels so bad to bring your fleet off, but I think it's the best. I could see an argument made for Trieste, but I don't think that's a good one. I think you have to go Eastern Med. That sucks.
Especially with German army Tyrolia and Italian army Venice, you don't want to take Trieste off.
Yeah, but Germany's not going to turn Italy into Trieste.
When's your next chance to build a fleet gonna be? I mean, knowing this, Austria is probably gonna build a fleet as soon as he gets his next build.
Yeah, I mean, if he takes Eastern Med off, I assume he will. But
yeah, so the story of Austria has been as soon as he has any chance at all, he builds a fleet, and then that fleet, things turn around, and then he has to take the fleet off, and then he builds another fleet a few years later down the line. But yeah, so not a lot else to talk about. The North stays pretty static. This is still exactly the same. So shall we go ahead to the winter?
Let's do it. Italy builds Fleet Rome.
Yeah, I forgot to say there was an Italian build here as well.
And it's the only build to go with the Austrian disband, and Austria does take off Army Trieste.
Oh wow! So that fleet's staying on the board. Austria's decided, no, I'm not giving up this fleet. I spent a while trying to get it. I suppose there is a chance that Russia might decide to flip back to his side and push him out into Ionian here. But
no way.
It feels like their chance is gone for that attack because of the second Italian fleet now. If you'd have told me...
mostly doesn't want the Russian fleet in Aegean to be unopposed, and he really wants a fleet to be able to tap Aegean.
That's fair. Yeah, because that Aegean fleet could be very problematic if he's just trying to take the Balkans. But man, if you'd have told me what was it, 3 years ago, that the Italian position would be this now, when Russia just walks into Naples and Austria was about to massacre everyone in the Italian homeland, it's just wow, that's a comeback and a half.
Yeah, I mean, it's all because Russia and Austria couldn't keep it together for 2 years.
Yep. Well, Well, this is power ranking phase. What are we gonna do with them? The
Well, Austria's
Austrian.
back to the bottom.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Oof.
Yep. To the
Sorry,
surprise of
Goldie.
everyone, I'm sure.
You had your time in the sun. You are now back at the bottom again. Uh, who is in second list? Like, I feel like the Italian position is now actually quite good
I
because,
think the German position is now second worst.
now that's an interesting one because they do have Army Livonia, and that can, like, if they get Fleet Berlin, this is such a good position.
Yeah, but they don't have Fleet Berlin. And let's say they look to get Fleet Berlin at the same phase that Italy moves into Gascony.
Yep, and then Italy just
Then
takes
suddenly,
Paris, and yeah,
oops.
I think that's fair. I don't see the Russian as being in a great spot, though, all things considered. They're
Well,
very much on the defensive on, like, every front right now.
I mean, they're not. Austria has disbanded every phase, and Russia has not disbanded. Right, Russia's built a couple times in these recent wars.
Yep,
Right, Austria lost Army Trieste, and you've got a fleet in the Aegean. You can lose Bulgaria and still retreat to Constantinople, and so Turkey is locked, and you've got enough pressure on Romania. So you're on the defensive, yes, but you're not actually losing, and you are going to start making progress again because Austria now has too few armies to hold Galicia, Romania, Bulgaria. Just
yeah, that's kind of true. I just, like, doesn't seem like a is the Italian position stronger than the Russian? That doesn't feel right.
I mean, I would. Italy currently has 8 free units. Russia currently has 3, 4 free units, if
Yeah,
that.
Italy's position is strong just based on the fact that they have no one attacking them, right?
Yep. And I mean, they've got good growth potential. Looks they can attack Austria for growth. They
Uh,
can take centers from Germany if they want it.
well,
Right there's,
there
yeah,
you
they're just
go.
fine.
So it's not really a reversal of power rankings. It's just, oh, hang on, that's in the wrong place there. But it's almost an entire reversal. Germany and Russia stayed in the same place, but Austria and Italy just completely swapped places. Austria is now in last. Italy is now in first, and that's in the span of 2 years. Um, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was all based on the back of Russia attacking. Turns out when two allies stab each other, or one ally stabs another, then the fate of the rest of the board changes dramatically.
Yep. Especially when you walk into Brest and get that Army Venice build.
Yeah.
Ends up coming in very handy. Shall we move ahead to spring 93?
Yes.
Alright. Spring 1993. Okay, well, the north is exactly the same, except Holland moved to Ruhr. So if the Russian had gone for that convoy, there would have been interesting times in Denmark. But obviously he did not do so. So that all stayed exactly the same.
Yep.
Yeah, and in the south, the Austrian army in Romania gets disbanded. Ouch.
Yep.
Although Austria does manage to get back into Bulgaria, this is just like complete death zone over here, Romania and Bulgaria. I think we've talked about it before, but oh man, actually the Austrian is in a pretty strong position over Turkey now because they kept that fleet on the board.
They didn't end up in Aegean.
They did not. That's true. Okay. So they're not in quite as strong a position against Turkey. But if Russia has to cover Constantinople with something here, what does it choose? Oh, like, what does he choose? Smyrna? Aegean? Both of them have pretty big disadvantages in that Austria could walk into them behind them. So it definitely makes the Russians' life a bit harder.
Yeah. The bad news for Austria is we don't know what Italy's doing, and Greece is vacant.
Yep. Although the fact that Italy did not walk into Trieste here makes me believe they are anti-Russian as opposed to anti-Austrian right now.
Yeah, Venice to Piedmont looks pretty pro-Austrian.
Yep, Marseille to Spain as well. Marseille to Spain, what is that even doing? That's just saying, okay, I'm just gonna sit over here, I guess.
Herpy derp.
Tunis to North Africa is kind of interesting because it can be used to convoy an army into Picardy.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why Marseille moved to Spain to say, okay, I'm not going to mobilize into Burgundy and Picardy at the same time. But
Sure.
they could mobilize into Picardy and Gascony, and that's basically the same. It's a little bit further behind, but it works out the same way.
Yeah.
They're getting into a strong position.
Yeah, and we'll see if Austria, with his fleet Eastern Med, is willing to support Ionian to Aegean. If so, we have a ball game. But
Yeah,
it's just super difficult for Austria to do that while Greece is vacant. They would need to cover Greece with Serbia, and then they need to use Budapest to tap Romania rather than support holding Galicia, and then they need to use Eastern Med to tap Aegean to ensure they don't just lose Bulgaria.
that's true. Alternative here, I mean, they would still need to do all of the stuff that is probably not ideal around the Balkans, but they could just convoy the Italian army into Syria, go for the Lake Lepanto again.
Yeah.
That's another thing the Russian has to be worried about.
Yeah, I mean, knowing this Russia, there's a very real chance he just moves to Syria now. I think if you're going for this Lepanto, I think it should go... Wait a minute, this is public press.
Oh.
Nope,
Yeah.
let's not go for that Lepanto. Nope.
Are you saying that you should convoy straight into Smyrna, or...?
If this was a private press game, I would be going after Smyrna with my convoy in this position.
Because you assume that the Russian is going to try and outthink you and go to Syria?
Or go to cover Constantinople with Smyrna, yes.
Yeah, I think
I
that's a
believe
good
there
bet.
are... Yeah.
But yes, as is, they would have to coordinate this in public chat, so... I mean, maybe they do put the... discuss the convoy to Syria in public chat just to make sure that the Russian maybe goes there.
Yeah,
Because-
but if you don't... The problem is you need to both fool your ally and fool Russia, but fool them each on a different level. Because you need to say something like, okay, I'm going to convoy you into Smyrna. Please order Apulia to Smyrna in your thing. And then your ally realizes you want to go to Syria, but Russia doesn't realize you want to go to Syria. It's just too impossible to navigate. This isn't the circumstance, right? When you can support two different things, you can just say, hey, I'll support Serbia to Bulgaria and I'll support Serbia to Romania. Take your pick. Right? That works. You can make those levels of coordination in public press. You really can't order convoys in public press. Not these convoys, anyways. Not these just raw guesswork.
Yeah, especially where you've just got, one... I mean, both of the fleets have to be convoying to the same location, plus you have to outguess your opponent. It's...
Yeah.
This is
If
not
it was
worth it.
different, right? If we had, I'm sure there's a way we could set this up where, let's say we had a fleet in Aegean, Ionian, and Eastern Med. Then we say, hey, Aegean is convoying you to Smyrna, and Ionian and Eastern Med are convoying you to Syria. Take your pick.
That would be cool. But yeah.
Right. Then you can do it. But even then, that particular situation is also stupid because you probably just want to go after Smyrna with support instead.
Yeah.
But, whatever. You get what I'm saying. There are times where you can do it.
Yeah, I get you. But yes, so most likely they just put the Italian fleet into Aegean if Austria is willing to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, Austria has to cover Greece in that scenario and figure out a way to, he is a unit down, so it's very awkward to cover everything he needs to.
I think if you go for this, you need to concede Galicia anyways. In most situations, if we're not going for the convoy, I would have Serbia to Romania, Budapest support, hold Galicia, would be the moves that I make. and I just bet that Greece doesn't get attacked this turn. But if we're making a Aegean retreat, then that's no longer an option. So we need to use Serbia to cover Greece.
Hmm.
And then we need to hang on to Bulgaria, so we need to use Budapest to tap Romania. So sad.
Yep. And then let's say Romania goes to Serbia, and then you're very sad.
If we go after Serbia and then they have a strength 2 on Romania as follow up, we are losing the game. That is true, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, would take some serious outguessing on that front. But yeah, the main other thing that's happened on this board is just Italy mobilizing hard, and we don't know where they're going yet, but they certainly have the potential to do a number of things here. And of course, Russia taking the gas between St. Petersburg and Moscow, deciding to only dedicate the one unit to it, and Germany doesn't go for either. They just support Silesia up to Prussia, which is an odd choice.
Nonsense. Complete and utter nonsense, but it's fine. It doesn't matter, and their position is great because the Moscow to St. Petersburg guess is such a punishing misguess because now they can't even defend Warsaw.
This is true. Well, they can, because if Livonia goes in, they can support Warsaw up to Livonia, or they could tap Livonia if pressure is going in. But
Okay,
it's still,
if they do either one of those, then they vacated Moscow still.
yeah, so it is still a guess.
Right, but it's you have a 50-50 guess on which way are they attacking Warsaw, as opposed to a guaranteed defense of Warsaw if you just support hold Warsaw. So it's like, even if you guess that they're going after Warsaw, you have to guess how they're going after Warsaw, which is just way worse.
Oh yeah, and one of those guesses is actually really punishing in that if you go with St. Petersburg support Warsaw to Livonia, which would counter Livonia to Warsaw supported by Prussia.
Yeah.
If they go in from Prussia instead, they get in from Prussia, you dislodge Livonia, and they retreat to Moscow as well.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, that would not be fun for the Russian player.
Yeah.
But
So that's why in like basically every world, I think you're supposed to have Livonia support Prussia to Warsaw, and just say, hey, you know what? If you guess correctly and you know that they're going after Warsaw, congratulations. But if not, maybe, I mean, Livonia to Moscow works too. It just, you don't want to support Livonia to Warsaw. That's the one move you don't want to do.
yeah, but if it's the one that they won't counter because they think it's too risky, then maybe you do want to do it.
But you
But
can just come
Livonia is
after
actually
Warsaw into Warsaw.
Livonia is actually a really valuable province anyway, so vacating it for Warsaw is maybe even not worth.
I mean, if it gets you a build, I'm certain it's worth, because then you build that fleet Berlin you were talking
Oh
about.
yes,
But if you take Warsaw from Prussia when you're still in Livonia, if we assume Russia has to disband, Russia's position suddenly gets really rough because they have to keep Moscow and St. Pete on the board, and then they have to lose a unit that's critical in these southern Balkan wars that just flip on a hair.
yep. Yeah.
I want to see what Italy does, because like again, Italy could just go after Greece.
I
They can
do.
just walk in there.
I do want to talk about one last thing this phase, which is just that Holland to rare move that I mentioned at the start. It's either because he was looking to bait Denmark into Holland and move up to Denmark, in which case I think it was a great idea, and that would have worked out really well, especially with Tyrolia to Munich. Actually, Tyrolia to Munich makes me think it is just that. But the Russian also ordered North Sea support English Channel to Belgium, so maybe it was deliberately to try and leave Holland open in case Italy took that support. In which case, maybe Germany isn't quite as trusting of Italy as it would appear here.
Yeah.
But yes,
It also has the benefit of, if Marseille moved to Burgundy, for example, then Ruhr plus Munich could be used to kick the Italian out of Burgundy.
this is true.
Um,
Into Paris, but they were getting
hey,
Paris anyway.
they're already getting Paris, now you have forced Burgundy. Ruhr is a much better province for an army than Holland, right? It strictly dominates Holland in that it can go to Holland, it can go to Belgium or Kiel as well, but it can also go to Burgundy or Munich, whereas Army Holland can only be convoyed around, and when there's a hostile army in North Sea and nothing in Helgoland Bight, Army Holland just has no purpose over Army Ruhr. So it's an improvement for the unit. It's probably going back into Holland in the fall because it's a supply center. So
Yep.
we'll see.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out. It's obviously a lot easier to leave your center open in the spring than it is in the fall.
Yeah,
So let's go
which is
ahead to
why
the
real
fall
men
phase.
leave their centers open in the fall because no one goes for their centers in the fall.
Okay, so fall 1993, convoy up to Wales. Huh?
Okay.
That's
Hmm.
odd.
But Spain doesn't move to Gascony. Piedmont doesn't move to Marseille or Tyrolia. So they're
That
clearly not. Okay,
that
sure.
just feels wrong. Um, well, I mean, maybe it's
If
just
they
like
want to take Liverpool, right?
I'm gonna toe the line and say, I kind of want to attack these German centers, but I'm not gonna do it in an aggressive way. So maybe Germany will just let me do it. Um, but man, it's an interesting choice doing that without any follow up whatsoever, and in a fall phase, um, which I mean, Germany actually gets a center here as well. They're gonna get to build that fleet Berlin if they want it. They
Yeah,
took.
because they took it from Livonia.
I mean, they would have taken it either way, right? Unless they went
Yeah, and
Wallonia to Wales.
this is the terrible way to take it.
This is the worst way to take it. This is true.
Uh,
They bet that St. Petersburg would be tapping Livonia, which it is fairly likely that that's going to happen,
but
right?
they simultaneously bet that St. Petersburg was tapping Livonia and Warsaw was holding.
Hmm.
They made both of those bets at the same time. So they were saying not only is Russia going to leave Moscow open, but Russia is also going to assume doing it this way, which the cost is so real because Army Livonia is so much better than Army Prussia in this position against Russia. So I think it's very sad that this happened.
I mean, they might be able to just force pressure again. I mean, they can just force pressure again. They
So, but
can support Warsaw up and move Silesia into Warsaw, right?
yeah, but now they've slowed themselves down a turn.
They have.
And
And
Moscow can tap Livonia with support from St. Pete and bounce you out of Livonia.
when you say Moscow, there's no Army Moscow.
But
Um,
Warsaw and Romania both disbanded, and Russia's only down one, so Russia
oh,
rebuilt.
that's true. Yeah, because the Austrian left Bulgaria again.
Yes.
Yeah.
If Austria had taken Romania from Serbia, then absolutely you're right. But let's assume that there wasn't an army in Moscow. Let's assume you were right. Then it's still very punishing because now your army Livonia plus army Warsaw can attack Moscow with strength too. And Russia needs to commit 2 units to defending Moscow, and if they don't defend Moscow, then take St. Pete. It just
Yep.
it slows them down so much, and it gives you so much gain. But at the same time, look, they built Fleet Berlin, and now the Russian position we discussed is collapsing very quickly.
But
Except,
we haven't actually moved to the winter yet, so we don't know that they're gonna build Fleet Berlin. I hope. I really hope
what?
they
Are they going
build
to
Fleet
build Army
Berlin.
Munich and try to attack Italy?
It's possible.
Maybe. I mean, to be fair, because of this convoy into Wales, suddenly the German position isn't nearly as promising as it once was.
This is true. Although it's not that bad either compared to if Italy had moved into Gascony and Tyrolia or Marseille. Um,
Yes.
yeah.
But I don't know what they're doing. Like, what, are they going to move Wales to Yorkshire and then convoy Spain to Wales? Is that it? That would be
That would be
gorgeous.
fairly effective, to be fair. Although having two armies in the British Isles feels like overkill. Um,
But there's already one army on the British Isles, so you need to put
well,
you have
having
two.
two of you, yeah, okay. Uh, but yeah, I mean, we haven't talked about the south down here. Italy snuck into Greece,
Yeah.
and
And Austria took Romania from Bulgaria, which is so sad. This was the only way to guarantee the capture of Romania. It's just so depressing that the upside is you don't take it
yeah,
if they that you don't get to take Bulgaria.
Yeah,
Like,
this is a positional thing, right? You're not getting build because you know you've got to rebuild anyway, and then you can take it next year instead. But with the Italian taking Greece, you don't get your rebuild.
yeah.
So,
So let's look at some tactics here, okay? So if, let's say, we had supported Serbia or Budapest into Romania instead of Bulgaria, let's also assume that a GNC does not go for the self-bounce and it does tap Bulgaria, then Eastern Med walks into Smyrna. So the only way for Russia to tap Bulgaria is and cover Smyrna is to then not move to Constantinople, which is very unlikely. So a GNC had something important to do other than tap Bulgaria, and if it didn't, you're still going +1. Even though you don't take back Romania, you would take Smyrna. So I believe Bulgaria was the wrong way to do it. Um,
yep,
Simply put.
this. Well, I mean, looking at the results, it certainly feels wrong. But
Yeah, and my
yes,
point is, I think going into it, you can say, similar to how we looked at Livonia, we just didn't look in the south that thoroughly until I saw the exact self-bound situation in Con.
yep. And feels like this is gonna be fairly punishing for Austria because it's another Italian build and none of their own. They're down to. Wait, do they get a build? No, they don't get a build because I keep forgetting they have Fleet Eastern Mediterranean, which is like so isolated that it's not even useful to them now.
Well, this turn it
Instead, it could
forced
have been.
Russia to self-bounce in Con instead of using Aegean to tap Bulgaria while Smyrna moves to Con. So it really did help this position. They just didn't take advantage of it.
Yes, exactly. And now they're out of Bulgaria. They're in Serbia, Romania, Budapest, Galicia. So that Eastern Mediterranean unit is so far gone. It's basically just helping the Italian against the Russian instead of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It might support Hold Fleet Aegean now to stop the Italian from making progress.
That's
We'll
possible.
see. And then Italy moves to Tyrolia and Venice and says, "Okay, you stopped me making progress against Russia. I guess I'll make progress against you." It's not real. Please don't do that.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's a ton more to talk about here, so shall we move ahead to the winter, see what the
Yeah,
builds are?
let's see. I mean, so Army Moscow, Fleet Berlin, Army Venice, or Fleet Naples, one of those.
Fleet Naples.
Okay, I believe it.
Yep. So the Italian is staying pro-Austrian. Honestly, this is kind of necessary. Italy wants to be the dominant fleet power in the Mediterranean, right? And right now they only had two fleets there, which was matched with the other players.
Sure, sure,
Now
sure,
it's
sure.
just completely locked up. They cannot. These two other players cannot get out unless Austria gets a build in Trieste.
Yeah, which seems very likely to happen.
Yeah, if Austria gets Bulgaria and puts down another fleet now,
Dude, I would be. Yeah.
it would be so good.
It would be so bad.
Well, yes, so
He
bad, but
needs
bad
his
in a good way.
armies.
Bad in a hilarious way.
Yeah, sure. Anyways, let's see some moves, shall we?
Yes, let's go ahead to spring 1994. Or let's see no moves from the Italian, to be precise.
Okay, and I'm right there. Look at
Let's.
these tactics in Russia, dude. Oh my god. Like, imagine how much better this is for Germany if they have that army in Livonia right now. There's no way that Russia can make this move.
Yep. This is true, and like their move set here just doesn't seem to work out very well. The German seems to be fully on the let's just help Austria out and not do anything myself train, which
Sure.
I mean it's fine, given that you're gonna make progress in the north anyway. But it's
Yeah,
also a
I mean,
little
it is the train.
disappointing. Uh, Especially with the Italian coming up behind you with all this force, you've got to be worried about, I need to start making some progress before he arrives.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna get North Sea in Denmark pretty quickly, so
Yeah.
that's good. Although, speaking of Denmark, actually, speaking of the North Sea, Germany decided that covering Holland from Belgium was more important than taking the North Sea. I'm gonna cry.
So I think
What?
their intention. Well, I think they were in thinking that Skagerrak would support hold North Sea again. So maybe they were going for Heligoland, just making sure that they can get the fleet over there. But you don't really need Fleet Heligoland in this situation. It's a nice place to have a fleet if you're attacking Scandinavia, but it's just like not not as useful as being in North Sea.
Yes.
It should be
Yeah,
said
North Sea matters the most.
if
You
you.
need to keep. Sorry.
Sorry, no, no, go.
You go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying you. If you knock him out of North Sea, he does retreat to Heligoland, which is a problem.
I mean, not really. Like, it's annoying, sure, but now what? Norwegian Sea has to cover Norway? So you get Edinburgh into Norwegian Sea, and your fleet in the Baltic means that you're guaranteed to capture Norway? Like, this is, it is so much worth trading North Sea for Helgoland Bight here. Just, it's completely, like, especially because the way you would take North Sea, you would move Ruhr into Holland, right? Because you don't want it to retreat to Holland for some reason, and then you can use Holland to support Kiel, and Holland is already in Holland, so there's no more issues there.
That's
The
true.
fleet in Helgoland Bight is annoying for sure, but not game breaking. And then yeah, you use the North Sea and Eddy to take Norwegian Sea, and your fleet in the Baltic just hammers away at Denmark and Sweden forever, and then they're gonna fall. I don't know. It's by letting we let Russia get away with moving Skagerrak to Sweden, and we made no progress other than that this turn. We needed to attack North Sea with strength 3 to keep Skagerrak tied down, support holding the North Sea.
Yeah.
But we didn't. So, I mean, hey.
So this is just more slow progress from Germany. I mean, they're still making progress. It's just horribly slow.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's the Italian NMR probably helps a bit. They didn't convoy up to Wales, and you put their army in Yorkshire. Although Germany was somewhat countering that with Liverpool to Wales, but yeah, it's still not fast enough to gain SCs.
Yeah, and I mean it's frustrating when the correct moves are the moves you've been making for the last 3 years or whatever, and then the turn you stop it is the turn it would have made progress.
Yep.
It's so frustrating to see.
Russia actually offered Italy support from English Channel into London here, which would have gone.
Yes.
That would have been interesting, although
He should have offered the support from Spain.
That was what I was gonna say. Yeah, even as much as I said, you don't really want two armies in the UK. You were kind of right in that one enemy army in the UK does mean that two armies on your side in the UK is better. Plus, it leaves your two fleets, which are not really enough to contest this whole area by themselves, still in the water where they're more effective. So yeah, but Italy didn't move, so nothing else happened there. And in the south, Germany's tap on Ukraine means that Austria makes solid progress. They get into Romania and they get into Bulgaria.
Yes.
So that's a plus. Maybe they're going to get a build and put a fleet.
Yeah, or perhaps more importantly, maybe they're going to force Ukraine. Like,
Can they do?
just
They can.
I'm going to stress the importance of this army in Livonia once again. So, hypothetically, let's say that Germany had an army in Livonia and this army in Warsaw. Okay, let's say that was the position this turn. Then Livonia can tap Moscow, and they could use Galicia and Warsaw to force Ukraine, and then Budapest can still tap Romania if Sevastopol needs to then support hold Ukraine to stop it from getting there. But then once Austria is in Romania and have taken Bulgaria, and we can use Romania on it, Romania can tap Sevastopol, Livonia taps Moscow, Warsaw takes Ukraine and is guaranteed to force the army, and then Silesia backfills Warsaw. And Russia's literally popped and can't build.
Yep. Russia's just stuck on this line entirely in that case. That would have been
Livonia
devastating.
is so important!
Yep.
But no, we let Russia back into Livonia, and now Germany just says, "Oh, I'm gonna maybe force Ukraine this year, but
To
have
be
guesses for it."
fair, this worked. The fact that they've let Skagerrak back into Sweden now means that perhaps instead of going for the guarantee on Denmark, which is no longer a guarantee, they can force Livonia instead.
Ooh,
Uh,
so frustrated.
so they can get back into the position they needed to be in. Um, but
Yes.
aside from that, not a lot going on here. Yeah, I say aside from that, we have been talking for a little while, but
Yeah. Unbelievably tilted. I am so unbelievably tilted. But that's
despite
fine.
this, Austria is still making some progress. It's not as good as Germany, Austria would have made otherwise, but they are making progress. Shall we see whether
Yes.
they continue to in the fall?
Let's do it.
All right, fall 1994.
Whew.
Ooh.
Fancy, fancy pants for Mr. Austria. That's how you do it.
Oh, they got into Smyrna.
They
Nice.
got into Smyrna.
Oh,
The
they get two
hostile
builds.
support. We're
They
definitely seeing Fleet Trias now.
Yeah. Okay, so this I don't know whether it's come up in this game before now. Have we seen a hostile support?
Really? We have to have seen one. It's been like 90
I
years.
feel like we've seen some attempts from Russia, but I don't know if we've seen any actual like successful ones before now.
I don't believe we've seen any successful ones before now.
So
Which
this
perhaps
is
goes to show you this doesn't happen very often, and you really shouldn't make this a serious part of your repertoire. But it does happen occasionally.
Yeah, it's a fun thing when it does happen. So obviously, this attempt over here with Aegean and Smyrna, we've seen it in this game 100 times before. A player uses 2 units to control 3 territories by sending both units to the third territory to bounce out, make sure there's an attack strength of 1 on it, so any other attack strength of 1 going in does not work. Right? You hold in both of your original provinces plus protect the one you attack, but this can be countered with a support because you wanted to protect Smyrna here. You wanted to stay in there. You did not want this attack to succeed. And Austria just said, nope, I'm helping your army in. You know, this army is going to succeed. Now I can move into Smyrna behind you, and you're kind of screwed. Um, so, really fancy moves by Austria here. Works out really well. Gets them 2 builds. Fantastic. And Italy gets into Aegean at the same time, so just a really bad turn for Russia down here. Um, they make up for it a bit in the north by taking Warsaw back, but they do lose Livonia at the same time.
Yeah. Imagine if there was never a Russian army in Livonia. We wouldn't have had to defend. All right, I'm done. I'm done. I've harped on it for a year, and that's enough.
But yeah, I should say with the regard to the self bounce, I think we saw the same self bounce previously, right? Did I don't remember if we did, but even here, it was fairly obvious that a self bounce might happen. I suppose. Actually, was it? Because this is a really bad self bounce to make. Surely you just want to put Aegean back in Constantinople here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It was not. So even if hypothetically, let's say there wasn't an army in Bulgaria to do this support, okay? Let's forget about this particular possibility. So you still want to bring Aegean back to Constantinople because you want to be able to hold Constantinople in the future, and Aegean is going to be forced by strength 2 anyways, so you're not actually holding Aegean. Now we've just put Aegean in Eastern Med instead of being in Con.
I think Russia was counting on Italy going Adriatic, Venice, Tyrolia. And basically saying, you know, I'm going all in against Austria now. Because that would have been pretty effective as a moveset, and obviously it would have meant that Russian fleet could stay in the Aegean.
Yep.
But yeah.
I mean, this is a position where as Austria, I would have been very punished because I would not have ever gone for this support with Bulgaria. I would always have had Bulgaria tap Con, Eastern Med tap Smyrna, because I want to force a GNC to retreat off the board if I don't get into Smyrna. So I would have assumed I'm going to bounce that Smyrna would be supporting Aegean to Khan. So I would cut the support with Eastern Med and then have Bulgaria bounce Khan back to Aegean so that Italy can pop it.
Yep.
But that didn't happen, and Austria is thrilled, I'm sure, that Russia went for this self bounce.
Yeah, Austria's got to be really happy. I guess maybe the fact that Russia went for this self bounce is because Austria would almost certainly do something like that, go to Con.
I'm less sure because in the previous position, Russia did something very similar. If you look at 1993, Russia did self bounce in Khan when Austria was in Bulgaria, but there was only one fleet adjacent to Aegean in that world. There was only the I take it back. We were thinking that Austria was going to support Ionian to Aegean, so maybe they just did the same thing twice and it worked last time, so they should do it again this time.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's an odd choice, but works out really well for the Austrian. Obviously, the downside to not seeing the press is maybe there was something in the press that indicated that the Austrians should do this. Regardless of whether there was or not, absolutely great moves, and I think this works out incredibly well for the Austrian. Getting 2 builds is exactly what you want here, especially with the Italian picking up 0 and having just moved Piedmont to Marseille. Although I'm not sure you want to attack the Italian right now, given the... well, I mean, you can make progress on the Turkish front still, as long as you keep them on side. It's an interesting question, actually. Is this the right time for the Austrian to jump on the Italian again?
When is it not the right time for the Austrian to jump on the Italian again?
This is... like, actually, I think it probably is, right? Because you can move Serbia back to Trieste, you can move Vienna to Tyrolia, you can move Fleet Trieste to Adriatic, and you can just slam in and see if you can make that progress again that you failed to make last time. There's
And
nothing...
this time, Russia's fleet is in the Aegean, is in Eastern Med, as opposed to the Aegean or Ionian, which is obviously less useful for you, but also less threatening to you, which is, I believe, a pretty significant change.
Yep.
It's this army in Apulia makes it so difficult. Like,
Yeah.
hypothetically, if Apulia was not on the board, if for whatever reason Italy didn't have this and still moved Piedmont to Marseille, I assume they wouldn't have done this. But if they had, for whatever reason, made these moves, then yeah, I think Trieste, Army Vienna, Army Trieste, and then you just take Venice and take Rome, and you're in golden shape. Because Army Apulia exists, if you build anything in Trieste, I would expect to see Apulia to Venice, which means if you were going after Italy, you need to build Fleet Trieste. And Ionian is going to bounce you out of Adriatic, and Apulia is going to bounce you out of Venice, and you just can't do anything.
Oh, I really want to see Fleet Trieste anyway. This is gonna be fun.
That's on the bingo card, right?
That is, yeah, second Austrian fleet build with less than, I think it was 7 centers, something like that. But
Shall
yeah.
we see it?
Well, we need to talk about the North still very quickly. North Sea, Germany takes it. Italy does not pressure Germany, importantly, in any way, and they assist in the capture of the North Sea. Not actually because they supported him from the wrong place, but, you know, they're showing willing on that front. So they're definitely still saying they're pro-German, but Piedmont...
Hey, I just put my army in Wales because I wanted it to be a fun place to be. I'm definitely not attacking you, nope.
Yeah, they can now convoy up to London or to Wales again and move into Burgundy at the same time, which is just... that would be an ouch. Russia is now in Heligoland Bight. Germany makes progress into Livonia, but they didn't make any progress on Scandinavia, so their one advantage is having Fleet North Sea now, and they've got to trust that the Italian won't run into them. Gonna be interesting.
Yeah, they have to disband something.
Do they? Did they lose
they
anything?
lost Warsaw.
Oh, they lost Warsaw. They did.
So they're probably gonna have to take Liverpool off the board, which means Italy's gonna be free to just convoy over to Wales, and the Wales walk into Liverpool.
Oh boy.
Where else can they take off the board? Belgium? Maybe Belgium is the correct one, actually.
Prussia or Silesia?
But then these are the only units you have to retake Warsaw.
Actually, yeah, you can't take Belgium off the board though, because that's like your one thing that can contest the Italian over there.
Well, the Italian can take Paris anyways. Maybe you are supposed to take Belgium off.
Uh, I think I'd take Liverpool off before I'd take Belgium off. But
Would I? I'm not sure if I would. So Liverpool is the reason why why I feel I need to keep Liverpool is once Liverpool is gone, Wales walks into Liverpool. And that is going to happen every time in every universe. There's nothing that can stop it. There's nothing else for Wales to do, and it's a guaranteed capture. If I keep Liverpool on the board and take Belgium off, for example, then there's a chance that Wales instead just supports Spain up to London, and I don't actually need my army in Belgium.
that's
Then Marseille walks to Burgundy, they take Paris. Dude, look, man.
so basically, I think what you're saying is the advantage of taking Belgium off is that if the Italian still wants to work with you, they won't attack you. If you take Liverpool off, if the Italian still wants to work with you, they're still going to walk into Liverpool because it's a free capture, and they can do it without like really irritating you in much of the way because they can say, this is fine. I'll take the position of the Italian army here, of the German army that was here. I'm still leaving you Paris, so we're friendly in that respect. But really, that army in Wales is just going to walk in the moment you take Liverpool off.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a huge part of it. The other part of it is just from a pure tactical sense. I don't like giving my enemies guaranteed centers. I would much rather give them guesses for multiple centers, but that give me a chance to stay neutral on this front, especially when I have the potential to make gains elsewhere. Because if I make gains on the east and correctly guess against Italy in the west, then suddenly, oops, I can actually build. Another reason why I would be more inclined to disband Belgium than Liverpool is simply how easy it is to get my army back into Belgium. I can build in Munich, which is a full 2 moves away from Belgium. Liverpool is like 2 moves and a convoy and like another move from Liverpool.
That's fair, but it depends whether you think you're going to get another build anytime soon.
I mean,
That's
if I'm not getting another build anytime soon, I'm kind of cooked anyways, so I kind of have to assume I
that's
am.
true. Uh, all right. Well, shall we move ahead to the winter? See what he takes
Yeah.
off. All right.
Okay.
Winter 1994. Liverpool is off. And Warsaw actually comes off because the Austrian took 2 centers. But Austria only builds 1.
Yeah, Austria's definitely not building Fleet Trieste. I promise I'm not building Fleet Trieste as soon as I possibly can. I promise.
Austria built an invisible fleet Trieste that will appear next turn instead.
Yeah, basically. Next year. It's
Next
just
year, yep.
that wave is the most obvious wave to me I've ever. I don't think I've ever seen a wave that's made me so like I know what's happening here. You can't fool me, Austria. I'm gonna move Ionian to Adriatic Sea right now. That's what I'm gonna do. She's just like, okay, sure, buddy.
I mean, you kind of want to blow up Eastern Mediterranean first, no? And then you move into Adriatic in the fall turn, maybe.
Okay, I move Greece to Ionian. Aegean Sea pops Eastern Med, and then Aegean covers Greece while Ionian moves to Adriatic. Yes, I think you're right. Popping Eastern Med is important.
But yes, this is really, this is Austria saying, I want to attack Italy, but I don't want to attack Italy right now. And it's so blatant that Italy's got to react. And I feel like I have to feel like it's wrong because Italy has easy access to SCs in the north. The moment he suspects you're going to attack him, he's going to get built. And if you put off attacking him for a phase but make it obvious that you're about to attack him anyway, he's just going to take a build or two and then you can't attack him anymore. So
Sucks to suck.
yeah, I think I would have preferred to see Fleet Trieste, Army Vienna. But it may not have been very effective. So maybe Army Vienna, Army Budapest.
It still would have been decent-ish. A little, no, not even that. I mean, look, Italy's position is just too strong to attack him right now. It's why we put him at such a high rating.
Yep, this is true. I mean, maybe Army Trieste, Army Budapest, and then you send like Army Trieste down to Albania and say to Italy, "Hey, I would like Greece back, please." I mean, maybe even if from you do Army Vienna, Army Budapest, and then shuffle Serbia and Budapest down to Albania, Serbia, and then say to Italy, "Hey, I would like Greece back." But yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Either way, feels like
We're doing power rankings now, right?
yeah, we are actually.
So Italy's number one, eh?
Italy has to be number one after this.
Finally, our power rankings stayed static for 2 years.
Is yeah, Russia still has to be in second, right? Germany with this disband in Liverpool just is gonna lose centres right now, and there's nothing they can do about it. They've just completely put themselves at the mercy of the Italian.
And Russia's position is still probably better than the Austrians because Austria is Austria.
Do we consider that Russia is stronger than Germany then?
Yes, Russia is stronger than Germany.
I think so, just because of how much Germany is at the mercy of the Italian. Although, if the Italian does not attack Germany here, Germany is going to make progress against Russia.
Yes, that is true. I mean, Germany is probably going to make progress against Russia anyways, but just Germany's going to be losing a similar amount to Italy.
Yeah. So really, it will be Italy making progress against Russia.
Yes.
This is, problem with disbanding Liverpool right here. Although really, Italy could have taken centres off of them anyway, so...
Really, it's a problem with leaving Livonia. All of this comes back to that, because if he never left Livonia, he never loses Warsaw.
This is probably true.
That's just how it works. Like, it was a quote-unquote guess that had one right answer that you just need to make. Like, when you look at bots play, I know that bots make a lot of mistakes, but what bots realized are that in quote-unquote guesses like that, as the attacker, just never go with the weaker option. Just make the best move, because opponents outthink themselves a lot, and even if they don't outthink themselves, your position still improves. Just make the good guess, because the upside, if you hit, it's like, I'm gonna flip a coin, and if it's heads, I make $20, and if it's tails, I make 5. What do you bet on, heads or tails? Well, I'll bet on heads, because the upside's there.
That's a really good analogy for this situation, actually. But he is back in Livonia, it should be noted, so he can start making progress again. He also has a guaranteed capture of Warsaw now, and he can probably start making progress into Scandinavia. Depends whether the Italian comes at him from behind, takes like London, Liverpool, and Paris all in the same turn.
Yep, I mean, that's totally plausible. Speaking of which, in this position, you send Livonia to St. Pete, Prussia supports Silesia to Warsaw.
That is, that's true, because then you're either guaranteed to get into St. Petersburg or you're guaranteed to get into Warsaw, as long as the Austrian doesn't help cover the thing from the Russian, but Austria and Russia don't seem like the best of pals right now.
I think that's a fair analysis. And also, this is a public press game. If it looks like they are the best of pals, you're not taking Warsaw anyways, so...
That's
maybe
true.
you do Livonia to Moscow in that case, actually. You probably do Livonia to Moscow in that world.
Well, shall we go ahead to... actually, I should say power rankings. Still as you see them here. No changes. So, let's go through to spring of 1955. We've gotten back 50 years. 1995. Sorry, 40 years even. But we are into... oh, boy. Okay, serious movement.
Germany nailed it. I would have gone for St. Pete, but yeah, Germany's move into Moscow was a perfect guess. Just completely crushed.
This was incredibly strong from the German right here, and the Italian didn't move in. They
English Channel to Irish Sea. Woo!
So the difference with English Channel to Irish Sea now is that now if the Italian decides to take the German centres, they will take London with the army and Liverpool with the fleet, but actually North Sea can bounce them out of London now, so Germany's only losing one maximum, and they can make sure they get builds. And
Belgium moved to Burgundy, so Paris isn't even lost.
Yeah.
And because Germany is gaining Moscow and Warsaw this turn, potentially St. Petersburg or something else, then Germany is guaranteed to be building.
Yeah, I mean...
See how good Livonia is?
Yup. It's really solid. The move up to Bothnia really helps out as well. It's like, I don't think they have a guarantee of St. Petersburg, but it's still... They have severe threat of taking St. Petersburg right now as well.
Yeah, Sevastopol needs to tap Moscow.
Yep.
Oh no, Barentsy was in there. Excuse me. Never mind. Barentsy. There's other guesses.
The Russians just seems almost dead here now because they lost Constantinople to a fleet as well, and they've got nothing that can cover the Black Sea. This is
Yeah.
This is incredible. I love this over here. So viewers won't be able to see this because you can't see the exact orders, but Heligoland convoy Denmark into Kiel. The objective of which is if Kiel goes to Denmark, with, say, support from Baltic, usually those two units would bounce back. That'd be, two units can't swap places, but they can swap places if they go via another route. So Kiel would go to Denmark, Denmark would be in Kiel, and then...
And to be clear, this works even if they're both being convoyed, right?
Yes.
I'm not an expert on this. I know that if one moves the other is convoyed, it works. But even if Baltic Sea was convoying Kiel to Denmark and Helgoland was convoying Denmark to Kiel, then they would both make it through still, yes?
Yeah, as long as they both take different routes. So here the Russian was trying to get an army into German lands and basically force the Germans to turn around with Prussia and Silesia. But Germany outguessed them, I guess, by not doing anything with that Kiel unit, which worked out perfectly.
I mean, if you're gaining 2 centers this turn, you don't really need to make any more progress.
Yep.
+2 is good enough.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, what can I say? The poor Russian here loses Constantinople, loses Ukraine, loses Warsaw, loses Moscow, loses the Norwegian Sea, has an enemy fleet in Bothnia now, is about to have an enemy fleet in the Black Sea, it loses Eastern Mediterranean, there's enemy units in the Aegean as well. Holy moly.
The saving grace for Russia is twofold. One, Austria and Germany are both making progress, so they are going to stay balanced, and not one side is growing huge, and Italy is ready to attack both of them.
Yep. That's gotta be Russia's lifeline here. They need to hope that Italy launches their attack right now. And really, that could actually... I suspect that's what will happen. The Austrian will use their build that's been in reserve. The German will probably turn on the Italian as well, and you get like an Italy-Russia versus Austria-Germany, or maybe Russia even staying neutral and trying to pick up centers where they can. This is always the downside with Russia. Your home centers in the middle can just fall so quickly. I say so quickly, they've held them for a very long time. But
once you lose Livonia, man, you lose everything.
Yep. Livonia is key. This is our lesson of the day. Shall we move ahead to the autumn?
Yeah. I mean, we can make it more generalized. We can say neutral territories, or territories that border 3 home supply centers, are valuable. For example, Gascony is a valuable territory. Burgundy is a valuable territory. Ruhr, less valuable than Burgundy because it only borders 2. Yorkshire. Serbia is super special. Yorkshire. These territories matter a lot, and don't just vacate them because it's Livonia and it doesn't look pretty.
Alright, well, let's go to the the fall of 1995 here. I'm being born in Munich this year, and thankfully it looks like it's a peaceful area, even though there's an army marching through it, but it's an army of Germany, so it's fine.
Oh my god.
So, what all happened here? What?
Well, Germany covers Munich, so he can only build one.
He does, that's true, and
but he only is net +1 anyways.
Oh, because he lost Liverpool at the same time. He seems to have entirely given up the UK. And Italy's going ahead and saying, hey, this is fine. But the big switcheroo we have down here, Austria decides to work with the Russian. They just leave Constantinople. Don't take the
Well, to the
center.
Black Sea, which is not the most pro-Russia move.
Yeah, but they also
Into
take Russian
Moscow.
support into Moscow,
Yes.
which is, oh boy.
I feel like if Constantinople had tapped a G in here, I believe Austria would be +3 because they lose Smyrna, but they gain Greece, Moscow, and Khan with their weighted build.
Yes.
So they would be
Oh,
building 3.
oh boy. And that would just start a massive war with whoever they did wanted to go to war with. Well, then you'd definitely be seeing Fleet Trieste, right? You probably
Yes.
see. No, they have two builds here, right? They
Yes.
have. Do they have two builds? No, they have one. Because they only went plus Moscow and they lost Smyrna. So it's
You're right.
just their waved build. So that
Khan to
making
Aegean is that 2 builds.
and yeah, you're right that these aren't necessarily pro-Russian moves. They have just surrounded Sevastopol, which is potentially very anti-Russian.
Yeah, and
But
Budapest went to Romania, and yeah,
they
I think
did.
Austria was trying to take Greece. I think they had an agreement or something with Italy about Greece, or maybe they didn't even, but they still wanted to take Greece and deny Italy a build, perhaps.
So they wanted to like have Italy go into Constantinople behind them, maybe.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Maybe no. They probably thought Italy was going to be using Aegean to take Smyrna.
Right.
They
Yes.
probably had something where it's like, look, I'm going to hypothetically tap Ankara, so you have a guess on Smyrna versus Syria.
Yeah.
Uh, is probably something that happened, and then for whatever reason, Italy decided to cover Greece correctly, and Austria went for Greece, so Italy feels very smart.
Con to black just feels like a strange choice if you're not working with the Russian though. It's like it's positioning. I mean, it feels like a strange choice either way because it's positioning anti-Russian, but you're giving up a build to do so, and that build is really important right now.
Yes.
I feel like vacating Constantinople must have been part of the terms for getting support into Moscow up here. Probably, but even then, it just doesn't
Even
make sense.
yeah, it's one of those odd moves that I'm never. Yeah, I'm not sure about at all.
Uh, yeah, I mean, well, let's have a look at the north for a moment. These moves up in Scandinavia. So a lot of cuts. Basically, every Russian unit moved. This is true. Nothing tried to hold anything else, presumably because they thought pretty much everything would be cut or bounced.
And everything was tapped.
Yeah, everything was tapped, but St. Petersburg to Norway ends up being the wrong move here because they could have held
It
St.
worked.
Petersburg otherwise. Yeah, they wanted that to bounce, and it did not. So, uh, Germany is gonna go +2, but only +1 build. No, sorry, only +1 because they lost Liverpool. As Germany, how do you even defend yourself against the Italian here? You need
Well, I
to.
mean, Italy's not being that aggressive.
Yeah, but you can't just let them keep taking your centers behind you. I mean, you
To
can.
some extent, I think you want to take Scandinavia more than you want to defend England.
This is.
Long term, Italy can't hold England against you. If you are able to hypothetically build 2 fleets, let's say, that's going to put you up to what, 6 or 5 fleets in the north against Italy's 2. So you're going to be able to just smash him and take over all of England, or you'll be able to build armies and just push into the French mainland. I am frankly not concerned about Italy taking England in this particular board state.
It's interesting. Yeah, and if you can use your negotiation to convince him not to take your centers until you've built, so say Berlin, or you get to build something in Berlin right now, which is really important.
Yes.
Then yeah, this is fair dues. You've got a pretty good position here. You can retake this stuff later. Uh, like, Germany could have made a fair bit more progress than they actually did here, I think, right? If they
Yeah,
had,
if like North Sea had supported Holland and Helgoland, for example,
they could have blown
that
up
was
that
a really
fleet.
big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think that's the biggest move.
if they had gone Bothnia into St. Petersburg instead of Moscow here, that would also have been huge. They would have taken Denmark and St. Pete, plus. Oh, they wouldn't have held on to Moscow, but they would have been retreating into Livonia, which, as we know, is quite a good province. but
Yeah, so that would have been Denmark. Yeah, that's a pretty big move, also.
yeah,
It's just,
they couldn't have known that one. That's just with hindsight.
yeah, that's one that you really. It's because you know that Moscow is getting tapped. So really, what's the point?
Yeah. Uh,
I mean, they could have had Moscow support Bothnia to St. Pete while Warsaw supports hold Moscow, and then you go +4 or something, right? Warsaw, Moscow, St. Pete, Denmark.
I mean, yeah,
I mean, he always got there.
man. I'm
But
just
yeah, I think North Sea support Holland into Helgoland was probably the most natural looking move to my eyes that they didn't do, but
yeah, I agree. That would have been guaranteed to force that center, right? That
yeah,
province.
I actually don't like this guess here from Germany because Helgoland Bight is never going to support hold Denmark. Helgoland Bight is always going to tap North Sea or tap Kiel. Because first of all, Fleet Holland is going to cut Helgoland Bight most of the time, so there's no value in support holding. Second of all, Denmark is going to Sweden a lot of the time, so there's also no value in support holding.
Yeah,
So knowing that Helgoland Bight is going to North Sea or Kiel most of the time, if Helgoland Bight goes to Kiel, then they take Kiel, and when you take Denmark, you don't get anywhere. If they tap North Sea, they cut support, and you don't take Denmark, so you don't get anywhere. So this guess, quote unquote, from Germany actually has no upsides. It never works. Whereas North Sea support Holland to Kiel, Holland to Helgoland Bight, excuse me, you're going to force Helgoland Bight anytime you don't take Denmark. And if you do take Denmark, then yeah, he retreats to Kiel and you're in Helgoland Bight, and that's the worst case, which remember was the upside of a previous case. So I think it was just better.
yeah. Eh, I agree with all that. It's like this feels like an oversight from the German, unless maybe they wanted to keep that unit trapped there, but then
Yeah,
it's
just make
just
Russia
hurting.
disband it. Just admit their inferiority.
Yeah,
And I mean, what, Russia has 3 disbands? 4?
it's
No,
got no.
maybe only 2, because it took Smyrna.
Yeah, they lost Warsaw, St. Petersburg, and
Moscow.
they lost Moscow to the yes. Okay, so 2 disbands. Um,
Man,
yeah,
if Austria was in Con.
if Austria was in Con and Greece here, man,
What's the most
because
disband
then
you ever had to do in a year?
ooh. I've never been stabbed like so hard that I've had to disband a ton. I know I've had to like I remember the opposite. I remember the best occasions when I got stabbed and still built 2 because of the way the person stabbed me and they blew up a bunch of my units and I got to rebuild them in the area they were trying
Oh,
to
God.
take. That was fun
Nice.
times. But
Yeah, I've had to go down 4.
uh,
Like, disband 4.
there was,
Ugh.
the big benefits of playing on webDiplomacy, which our subscribers may not know, is a site for variants. You can get like absolutely stupid stories. There was a time on a Haven map, which I don't know if you've ever heard of. You probably haven't.
Is that the completely symmetrical one?
No, it's like a big map where every province on it is labeled after some fantasy land, and there's an underground zone you can move your troops into and stuff. Anyway, I was playing as the ogres, and I had an ally who was the leprechauns. I basically talked to another player, and we were going to stab them for 35 supply centers. But we decided to draw instead. It's still like my biggest regret of all time, because that would have been the most
A
beautiful turn.
35 supply center stab between 2 units,
Yes.
2 countries.
Uh, it would have basically killed them. I think it would have taken them down to like 3 centers. Because their position was so terrible, they just moved all of their units to the front line against the like one other guy who was left on the board. I should dig up that game sometime and see if I can
You
find
should
it
pick
again.
up that game, and we should give you all of the lip in the world for being a Care Bear.
Look, this was back in the day where I was more of a Care Bear than I am now. This is true. But also, the other person didn't want to do it, so that was a big part of that as well.
Then
Mainly
how many
because,
could you
like,
have gotten alone? Like 14 only?
yeah, I would have still gotten a lot. But yes,
Whatever.
to be fair, the guy playing the leprechauns was a very nice guy. So
Yeah, I'm sure he was a great guy who just wanted to give you a bunch of his centers, and you declined. How rude of you.
anyway, we should be talking about this game right here, where the Austrian could this like if Italy loses Greece here, he gets no builds. Austria gets 3 builds. That's
Yeah.
just a completely
Instead,
different game.
Italy's building one, Austria's only building one, so Austria can't do anything. But,
Yep.
I mean, he's got to try. This is his opportunity, right?
Yeah, shall we go ahead and see what those builds are?
Yeah. Why does Russia
Winter
take off?
1995.
Okay,
Russia.
Helgoland Civ.
Oh,
Okay.
Fleet Trieste!
Yeah,
Yes!
to the surprise of everyone, I'm sure. No one could have seen this coming.
It's a bingo, though. It's a bingo square.
It better be a bingo square.
2 fleets, 4 army Austria. That's...
You know, 5 armies. 5 armies.
Oh,
don't
there are
be,
5
don't be
armies,
too
this is
disrespectful.
This is something, like, that's a fairly reasonable unit composition, to be fair, but your fleets are not usually...
Black Sea, Trieste.
Yeah.
Is Russia gonna get eliminated?
This seems actually fairly likely at this point, right? Germany has no reason to stop attacking them in the north. They just want to wipe them out and then turn around and take their centers back from the Italians.
Hey, this fleet in the Black Sea means that Russia can't hold Turkey.
Unless the fleet in the Black Sea helps them. But then, like... I mean, if Austria has to move against Italy right now. So maybe their best bet is just working with the Russian, but now their fleet in Black Sea is kind of useless. It's not useless, but it's just... It can't push out against these Italian fleets.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's in Con, it can't break out against the Italian fleets anyways. But it, at least, you would have taken Greece. That's the whole point. This is tough.
Certainly tough for the Russian. This is...
Yeah, I mean, Russia's about to lose Denmark, Norway, and Sweden this year. I'm pretty sure that's all guaranteed. Okay, I take it back. I didn't notice that it was Army Berlin instead of Fleet. I think if it's Fleet Berlin, then you literally have it all guaranteed, because North Sea supports Kiel to Denmark, while Bothnia taps Sweden, Berlin to Baltic, and then in the fall, you use Baltic, Bothnia to take Sweden, and then you use Norway, Norwegian, and St. Pete to take Norway. Norwegian taps Barents, North Sea supports St. Pete to Norway, and then you've guaranteed everything. Actually, you do this with an army. You don't actually need the Fleet Baltic, because you go North Sea supports Kiel to Denmark, Bothnia to Sweden, and then... Oh no, but now Sweden goes to Baltic Sea, and that's what makes it complicated.
Yeah. I've got a feel that Germany was not expecting Russia to keep this many units on in the north. Russia's using one of their southern centers to maintain a northern unit. And
yeah, but I mean, what unit is that? Sevast... Like...
Yeah.
Whatever.
The Russian position is pretty dead either way. But usually when you get into a situation like this, you kind of want to just give up on one of the fronts and put everything into holding the other one. In this position, it looks like the Russians going to try and hold on to both, which, well, we'll see how it works out
I
for
mean,
them.
he's not going to hold on to the north for long.
Yeah.
And in this tactical shot, I think Italy has the huge edge over Austria.
Yeah. Austria's only got 1 fleet in a useful spot.
Remember when I said I think Italy has the huge edge over Austria?
Yeah. This is
Let's see it though, shall we?
All right, let's go ahead to spring 1996.
Okay.
Okay, well, so yeah. Okay, what should we talk about first? There's a lot going on.
Let's talk about the North first, the simplest and the cleanest.
Okay. Yes, so Germany is just continuing their demolition of Russia right now. They took the guaranteed shot at Denmark, tapping Sweden. Sweden did not go to Baltic Sea, which is kind of surprising. They instead decided to rotate Norway into Finland and put Sweden into Norway with support. So Sweden into Norway with support guarantees that you hold one of Norway or Denmark. But they could have done that with Barents support hold Norway anyway, so it's a little odd in that respect. Why did they feel that Finland was so important to put the army
Well,
there?
now they have 3 on St. Pete.
That is true. Maybe they're just...
But...
Wait, do they? No, they have 2 because Sweden didn't actually get into Norway.
But Finland is going to tap Bosnia.
Finland is an army. Oh, Sweden is going to tap Bosnia. Yes, sorry.
Sorry, Sweden is tapping Bosnia, so Finland is going to take St. Pete strength, effective strength 3 because Bosnia is being cut.
Yeah, they're going all out, going for St. Petersburg here, maybe.
But you have to go. Oh no! But if you go from Finland, you don't necessarily get there because Norwegian can cut Barents. That's annoying. And Bosnia always attacks Sweden with strength 2. Yeah, this sucks. Never mind. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it does feel like you are correct, though. The intention of these moves was to try and get into position to take St. Petersburg back. They're just going, I need my homeland, otherwise I'm out of this game, which is probably fair. We've seen people recover from positions like this before, but...
Usually they've kept at least one home center.
Yes. When we saw the one time... No, there's been a couple times they didn't, but mainly they were quite close to the home centre in the case of Italy getting budged out into Trieste, or in the case of Turkey getting pushed out into Greece, they just died like 40 years later. So, yeah, that pretty much.
So that's the north.
Yeah.
Right.
The south.
So in the west. One second,
Okay.
The south is the complicated part. We just see
Yeah.
Italy just pushing everything to the east because the east is what matters.
Yep.
Great. Now, meme, what on earth happened down here?
Why would you ever convoy Ankara to Romania? That just seems so bad.
Just seems like, unbelievably awful.
So you're saying here, okay, Russia, I want you to keep units on the board in the north. But why do you want to keep Russia to keep units in the border on the north anyway? Because then you're saying, okay, I want you to hold Germany for longer so that Italy can grow stronger. And I'm fighting Italy. I don't want Italy to grow stronger. This doesn't make sense. The other reason for convoying into Romania here is maybe saying, okay, I don't have enough units on this front to be effective. I want you to go up and, go into Ukraine or Galicia or something, but Russia, what are they gonna do? I
assume Romania is going into Galicia.
I mean, yeah, this is probably true, but still, I don't know. I just don't know about this. This feels bad, especially considering how hard Russia is playing for this win. They're probably just going to go after their home centers again, and try and build maybe. I mean, I don't know what I'd do as Russia in this position because it feels like a pretty doomed position anyway. So maybe Russia does just go to Galicia, but Galicia isn't where you need the extra army regardless.
Yes. It just gets to Bohemia quickly. So I think it's valuable. I'm honestly a little confused as to why Germany moved into Prussia and Silesia.
I mean, I think they clearly thought that Austria was going to attack Warsaw, right? Maybe if they get dislodged from Warsaw, they retreat into Livonia, then they go, I would not be surprised if Austrian press here was trying to say he was going to attack Germany so that Italy wouldn't attack him. But obviously that's never going to work.
After you build Fleet Trieste, I think your cards are on the table.
Yeah.
It's face up. You just gotta own it.
Yep.
Own your plays, Captain Meme.
The, yeah, Germany is just keeping peace with Italy here, and like, if Russia gets given centers by Austria over here, he's going to use them to maintain units in the north, which will slow Germany down and make sure it's longer before Germany turns on Italy. Which just doesn't make sense to me.
I completely agree. I think I like this play here from Germany, who's been frustrated by these Russian units in Scandinavia for the entire game. If he can finally clean Russia out of the north, keep St. Petersburg locked down with 2 units, he can then devote everything to pushing west and finally clearing up the board. I think that's a great position for Germany to get in. I really like that he's committing to cleaning up Scandinavia and not getting ahead of himself.
Yep.
I think this is a good opportunity for him to stay at this speed and just keep it going. I like this a lot.
I should say I do feel like it's unlikely that Germany solos if he goes down this route, because once you like wipe out Scandinavia, if you then turn your attention to Iberia, they will lock up Iberia before you get there. So your solo is probably going to be from running across the line at Austria before he stops fighting with Italy. Even that seems a little bit out of reach.
I just disagree. I think people are so greedy. I think you can make it work, and you just frankly really want the added security of no more Northern Russian units.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I guess we'll see on that front. I just, I think Black Sea convoy Ankara to Romania is just unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. I agree.
If he can turn it to the point where Russia is just using that unit to help him out, then sure, it works out. But then you kind of want that to be in Turkey anyway, because Italy's got their fleets down there and they can take more from that direction. This is
Yeah, I feel like it should be in Con or something.
yeah.
I can, as a Russia, I would love this. I would be so happy to have been put in Romania. I can even just move back to Ukraine. I don't need to. If I'm not going to Galicia, then I can defend my home.
Yep. You just
Armenia, Armenia can go to Sevastopol. Yeah,
try to defend Sevastopol. It absolutely works. But yes, this is still not looking great for the Russian, but it's looking a bit better than it did
it
previously.
looks unlikely that Russia gets eliminated now that Romania is Russian, Bulgaria is no longer occupied, and Black Sea is not supporting attacks into anything.
Yep. I wonder if this was an arranged trade for Black Sea walking out into Constantinople, but like, you really, the Russians should be happy about Black Sea walking into Constantinople anyway. You don't need to offer to convoy his army to help.
Yes.
So,
You don't need to juice that offer. It's good enough.
yeah, shall we go to fall?
Absolutely.
Alright, fall 1996. It's gone into
Okay.
Ukraine. Okay.
Austria is saying, hey, I hope you are interested in taking Moscow from me.
Why is Austria pumping Russia back up? I mean, they didn't give the center. Why did Austria go to Bulgaria East Coast? What is going on?
So Austria wasn't building this turn anyways,
This is true. They
because
could.
they're getting increased but losing Trieste.
Yep, they did guarantee that they held Trieste, which not Trieste, Greece, which is good. Clearly, Black Sea to Bulgaria is just to say to Russia, "Hey, you know, I'm on your side." But when you have this level of control over Russia, regardless, it doesn't feel like it's all that necessary, really.
You've already told Russia you're on his side.
Yeah, by convoying him to Romania. Uh, is it in Austria's interest for Russia to stay alive in this game? I think this is really the keystone, because maybe Austria is going, hey, Russia, you can have Moscow back. You can start growing back on this board, because if you die, I'm in a worse position. And to be fair, from what I've heard of this game, Russia was for the most part the draw holdout, and they were always the scapegoat that anyone else could point at and say, you're the draw holdout, not me. So perhaps that's the logic. Once Russia goes, Austria can't like have his draw vote up and continue playing at the same time. But it just feels wrong to do to do this, to put Russia into this position. You need him to be in Turkey. You need him to be making sure that Italy doesn't go that way right now.
Yeah, I think you want him to have a few centers so that you can say, hey, I'm not at 14, I'm only at 10, when those centers are all Turkish centers near the Black Sea.
Austrian,
Because
yeah.
then they can basically be yours. But I don't agree with letting Russia back into its home centers.
Yep. This is just going to... Well, okay, so Germany is actually making significant progress in the north. They get Norway, Sweden, and Denmark this year. They do lose St. Petersburg. But that's it. So they mop up the entirety of Scandinavia. It looks like they are going to have an annoying unit in Baltic to deal with. Depends what Russia keeps on the board, right? Because they just went -2.
Minus Denmark, Sweden, Norway, plus St. Pete. Looks like
Yeah.
-2 to me.
So they could take off like St. Pete Barents and leave Baltic on the board, or yeah, I feel like you just take Baltic Barents off because you've got to focus on your homeland at this point.
I agree, you need to focus on your homeland. I just don't think taking away those fleets does that. Are you... isn't St. Pete just going to be taken in that case and then get taken off the board?
Well, yeah, but you keep St. Petersburg on the board so you can pull that army down and start, making sure that you solidify the rest of your homeland. No.
I mean, you
Even
can take
better.
Moscow, sure, but you're never taking Warsaw again.
You could go here if Austria's on your side. You could go to Livonia, Galicia, Ukraine, and with Moscow you have enough. Although if Germany pushes an army into St. Petersburg, then you have problems.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of like getting rid of the Northern fleets because Northern fleet sucks in this German position, or actually in this Russian position. But I also feel like there's just a lot of utility in the Fleet Baltic Sea right now, and
Yes.
there's a huge possibility that you can convince Germany to just leave me alone. It's only one fleet. Look, I'm moving it into the Gulf of Bothnia. I'm not doing anything to you. Or something, and then later on in the game you can retake St. Pete and maybe hold it.
Yep.
But as Russia, I really, like, you heard me when I was Germany, I really value disbanding these Northern Russian units, Northern Russian fleets in particular, because it makes your game so much cleaner. As Russia, I really value keeping them on because I like them a lot.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. Like, if you take these northern fleets off the board, well, no, I feel like Barents you have to take off. Because Barents is going to get forced at some point. It's not going to
Okay,
be useful.
Barents sucks. Barents doesn't count
Yes,
as Northern fleet.
but Baltic, it's just very good. For utility purposes, if you can find a center to maintain it. Important to note, Germany is not building as much as you would think. You see them take 3 here, lose St. Petersburg, so you'd think 2, but they also have the problem of Italy just walking into centers. And that is exactly what Italy does. They take Edinburgh here. So Germany is only building 1. And Italy is going to be building 2? No, 1. Because they go plus Edinburgh plus Trieste. Minus Greece. Well,
I'm a huge fan of Italian play. Just slowly, one dot at a time, and Germany can't stop you, so
yeah, I mean,
do what you got.
Italy's got to be feeling great about this because even if Germany does take that north and, then spin around, Italy's had now the chance to establish a fairly good position in the south, and they can bulk up that stalemate line if Germany comes for them and just end the game there. That's the hope, anyway. Right. Shall we move ahead to the winter?
Absolutely, let's see him.
Alright, winter 1996. Fleet Kiel, that says to me that the German is looking for ambitions beyond just the Russian. Oh, wait, hang on. The Russian
Russia
takes it.
lapsed at us.
Okay, I assume a Russian unit got forced that I didn't notice. Because I thought they were going -2, but they only went -1, and they took off Ukraine, the unit that Austria just convoyed out of Turkey. And they keep Barents and Baltic on the board. Even Barents. Barents just feels like this is all just delaying Germany from turning around and slamming into Italy. Why does Austria want this? Like, okay, so we don't see the press. There is a chance that Germany's just doing the thing where I'm sticking with Italy no matter what for the rest of this game because I just want this to be over at this point. Right? In which case, this makes a bit more sense. If you see the two of them as some unbreakable duo, then you kind of need to ally with the other guy on your side of the board. But, I don't know.
I mean, the problem with that approach is that's conceding. Because if Germany and Italy are an unbreakable duo, you can never win. So if you think that's the case, just stop inputting moves because the game is over.
Yeah, I agree. Like, Germany and Italy have 22 centers between them right now. Austria and Russia have 12.
And they have the position.
Yep.
Like, yeah, so I think your bet needs to be get Germany to attack Italy by giving him the cleanest north possible so that he has nothing to worry about except how does he get to 18, where do those centers come from? Hey, I hear there's a stalemate line that goes through Iberia. Maybe we should take that.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. Baltic and Barents staying on the board just seems bad for Austria. This is... yeah, so we do need to do our power rankings here. I think it's fairly clear that...
I want to take one more second to appreciate how funny it is that we are saying Russia keeping 2 northern fleets on the board is such bad news for Austria. Take a moment to mull that statement over in your head and think of how many times you've heard that statement in literally any other context. Because normally, Austria is begging Russia to build northern fleets. She's saying, yeah, Fleet St. Pete North Coast, absolutely. Fleet St. Pete South Coast, whatever. You gotta contest Norway, you gotta go after England, you gotta not build armies in your homeland. Not in this game. Just so weird.
Yep.
Okay, back to your normally scheduled power rankings.
Okay, normally scheduled power rankings, Russia is in last, yes?
Uh-huh.
Yep. It's, like, obviously it's between them and Austria. It just feels like Austria has a much better grasp over their homeland. Maybe if Russia had kept Ukraine on and were able to force Moscow, this would be... No, it probably wouldn't be any different, but they would be slightly stronger on the rankings. But especially with them keeping Barents and Baltic both, they should have gotten rid of Barents for sure. Just feels like it's a very difficult position for them to recover from now. Austria second last.
Terrible. Russia's position is just...
Yeah.
How do you stop Sweden to Norway, Norwegian support Sweden to Norway, Norway to Finland? Okay, well, you can bounce them out of Norway. Okay, great. Then in the fall, I use Finland to support Sweden to Norway. Norwegian supports that as well. Okay, great. Now they're in Norway and Norwegian. Then in the spring, they go Finland to St. Pete, Norwegian supports Norway to Barents. Oops! 3 units are going to destroy Barents Sea and take St. Pete in 2 years.
Yeah.
Not good. Not a good unit.
Man. Yep. Well, Russia is solidly in last place right now. Their position could be recoverable. We've seen everyone's position be recoverable, but it doesn't look very recoverable with 2 of their units being basically useless for the purpose of recovering. And their main center of supply centers being defended by 1 unit. Constantinople. We'll see how that turns out for them. Austria's in second last. This is like, we're just going by supply center counts at this point, but it's just based on board dynamics as well. The Austrian position does not look great with the Italian constantly building, and the Italian and the German being in this alliance together, especially with the Russian keeping those units in the north. So, between Germany and Italy, who is in first?
Well, one of them has a fleet Baltic Sea and fleet Barents Sea to contend with. The other has no reasonable aggression.
Well, I mean, the other has Adriatic, but they can pretty easily get rid of it. And literally nothing defending Turkey right now, apart from Fleet Con and Fleet Bulgaria East Coast. But like nothing aggressively defending Turkey, as in nothing that's gonna make your life horrible around that area.
Yeah, and I'm assuming Fleet Adriatic Sea goes off the board this turn.
This is probably true.
I'm assuming that Albania to Adriatic, supported by Ionian, just does it.
Yeah, and even on top of this, like, Italy, their position in the north isn't great. They can lose Edinburgh very quickly. They can't really take much else if Munich decides to bounce them out of Burgundy. But those two Russian fleets make all the difference. It just slows down Germany.
Italy so much time.
Yep. So...
And frankly, even if Germany does attack Italy in the north, then Italy still gets to fall back to the stalemate line, where they already have Mid-Atlantic Ocean, Irish Sea ready. So Germany won't be able to push through Spain into Western Med quickly at all. It will be such slow going.
Yep. This is just true. I mean, what more can we say there? So here are our power rankings. We still have Italy in first place. Germany in second. There we go. They're both on 11 supply centers, and they're both quite considerably higher than the next highest, I think. Austria in third, and Russia down there in fourth. Really should be lower, actually. Let me move them down a bit. I should probably move Austria. Let's just make these, like, relative to their actual power levels.
Yeah, for the first time in this game, let's start in the last one. Hey, yeah.
There we go. So, like...
To be clear, that's something I think would be fun to do for a different version of our power rankings. We should talk about this later, but if we would do it on an absolute scale of 1 to 10,
yeah,
how strong do we think each country is? 10 means we expect them to solo guaranteed from here, 1 being we expect this player to get eliminated from here. And then where do we put... Right, what numbers do we give people? I think that's an interesting way to do power rankings in the future, but we don't have time for that right now.
I'm not sure how I'd represent that in OBS over here, but we'll see. Well, we have, but right now, yeah, Italy very high, Germany high, Austria low, Russia very, very low.
Yeah,
let's
see some moves, eh?
Go ahead to 1997, yeah. Okay. Well,
I'm upset. Italy didn't disband Adriatic.
Italy did not disband Adriatic. In fact, they went out to Tyrrhenian, which is... What?
I mean, they're worried about Iberia, but jeez, dude, just pop Adriatic first.
Yeah, they decided to take Greece instead, and they were successful in taking Greece instead.
But, like, pop Adriatic?
But getting Adriatic off the board just makes your position a lot safer here. It's just nice. Right now, there is a potential that Austria just decides to YOLO convoy from Trieste to Apulia. You've got no second fleet adjacent to Adriatic to disband that anymore. So, yeah.
Yeah, this position is suddenly... That fleet Adriatic is the most important fleet in this war at the moment. And if you had taken it off the board and put your fleet in Albania in there, you're never going to lose Trieste again.
Yep.
I just... Man. That is so sad.
Man. Well, I mean, as things panned out over there, really... I mean... It feels like a bad phase for Italy. They do manage to retreat their army into Albania, so like their position didn't get that much worse from losing Trieste here. But Adriatic being there is just a pain. The Austrian can support himself into Venice, maybe convoy into Apulia, like try and blow up Albania with it. Could tap Ionian to stop various things from happening. Maybe, I don't know. But just the potential with that unit there is a lot bigger than without it.
Okay, I will grant you that there was value in the spring to supporting Albania into Greece to open up a retreat possibility for Fleet Trieste. Okay.
Trieste, yeah.
Okay. Army Trieste, excuse me. I concede that. But if you are doing that move, you should still move Naples into Apulia so that in the fall you can disband Adriatic Sea. Now you'd be doing it from Apulia, and then you plan to push Adriatic back out west.
Yeah.
That's just... It's so important tactically to make these changes, but that didn't happen. I'm very sad.
Move to Tyrrhenian just seems like they are really worried about the German here, and they moved to Gascony as well. I mean, they also decided not to... So, interestingly, the German wanted them to move Edinburgh to Norway here. They supported that, and they tried to convoy the army over. Italy just said, no, I'm staying here. You're not having me out of the island. Clearly, Italy getting very nervous over here, and it's kind of hampering their progress in the south because of moves like this. Well, this move specifically, Naples to Tyrrhenian Sea.
Yeah, I really like not getting convoyed into Norway. I think that is a move that, as Germany, I'd be really happy about.
Yep.
And what's the gain for me as Italy?
This is true. You just kind of help Germany clear up the north faster and filter your army into a place where it's easier for Germany to blow it up and then go for the UK.
Yes, I completely agree. So I think this is very smart to not get convoyed away. Although I know you would always accept the convoy.
I might not.
I mean, have you, in the history of your life, refused a hostile convoy offer?
Hostile convoy? Well, I mean, okay, so in this scenario, I probably would accept it just because I could have an Italian army in Norway right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Go on. I know, Meme, that if I am ever in a game with you, face-to-face or otherwise, as long as it's not anonymous and I know that it's you, I am going to find a way to work with you, make it to a late game, and then propose to convoy your army somewhere stupid. Syria, Tuscany, Apulia, it doesn't matter where on the board, Finland, I will find a way to convoy your army somewhere. You will say yes, and then I will walk in behind it and kill you. I promise you it's going to happen at some point, and I cannot wait for the day when it does.
Oh boy. You see, this is why we rotate our position in Media Wars and don't both go in at the same time. Because I don't want to get stabbed by this bastard.
It would be so funny. It would be the greatest.
Well, anyway.
Speaking of Media Wars, this game's going great. I'm going to have so much fun this one.
Yes.
All right.
We haven't actually mentioned Media Wars to the viewers yet, I think, but there is a
yeah, we should keep it a secret. We should keep it a secret. Let's not tell anything yet.
Okay, that's completely a secret. You don't... But no, they know that Media Wars is happening, presumably, because it's been announced in other places, right?
Yeah, but do you think that our viewers are going to other channels? No, we're the biggest on the market, man. No one else knows. Look, man. We should keep it a secret. We can do an announcement video or something. We should not do the announcement, 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 45 minutes into this video.
I think that's the perfect point to do an announcement, because it means only the most dedicated.
No, we're talking about there will be literally 3 people who will see the announcement.
Look, I'm not cutting this part out of the edit. So...
By the way, thanks for those of you who made it this far in the video. We really do appreciate you guys sticking around. On the Google Analytics, you can see how long most people stick and watch our video, and about 80% of viewers leave within the first 5 minutes. So
it's
for
not
those
just
of you
5
guys,
minutes, it's 5 seconds.
Look, man, I was not wrong about the first 5 minutes being 80%, but we really appreciate you guys who stick around and watch. To reward you guys, let's get on to the more content you're looking for, shall we?
But first, Media Wars 2 is going to be a thing, and Ezio is in it. Okay, anyway, so...
Let's go to the fall, okay?
yeah, let's go to the fall here. See what's happening in fall 1997. Well,
Tactics.
I don't feel like we talked about what was happening in Scandinavia last phase. Russia actually did get into Norway.
Yeah, because there's a lack of convoy.
Because of the lack of convoy here. It doesn't help them a ton, but it does mean
Well,
that...
that's helpful. We don't lose any centers this turn. I mean, Russia's pretty happy with staying even.
yeah, I love that Austria and Germany just swap Moscow and Warsaw, and now Germany goes into Galicia, Silesia, and Prussia. It's like, well, that Austrian army has made some mistakes.
I think I'd rather have kept Moscow in this position.
Yep,
Italy walked into Burgundy, but not Paris.
this is true. They're like, okay, Germany, you can keep your centers. You're not gaining anything right here. I don't want you to disband. And
Oh my god.
I'm kind of fine.
I just saw Ionian to Apulia, Tyrrhenian Sea to Ionian. I am so tilted. Oh my god. Ah!
Okay. So, I mean, it should be obvious, but the reason for this tilt is this is the same position you would have had if you moved Naples to Apulia last turn instead.
So, like, normal. Okay, I would be tilted enough if he had done something like Naples to Ionian, Ionian to Apulia. All right, that type of move tilts me. I make them occasionally, where you do this congo where one goes into the other instead of Ionian supporting Naples to Apulia, right? Because then you can get bounced and it's a problem, right? That's bad enough, where you give the opponent the potential to capitalize and slow you down. But here, it was just, nope, I'm just not going to deal with this fleet for an extra phase. I just took a phase and I threw it in the trash.
So I think here maybe the Italian didn't actually want to be in this position anyway. They just wanted to hold in Tyrrhenian, because I think there was some possibility of Trieste getting convoyed over to Apulia. They did kind of have to cover it. So this move set, maybe it wasn't 100% to blow up the Adriatic. Maybe it was more to cover Apulia. Fits in with the game plan.
But now once they're in this position, they're going to blow up Adriatic.
Yeah.
They got to the exact same position they would have been a turn later, and it's just depressing.
Absolute ton of defensive moves over here, it should be noted, with this double tap on Trieste, making sure that they cannot in any way take anything unless they move out of Trieste to do so. But Trieste could have gotten into Venice, which would have been interesting. With support from Adriatic, Austria goes for the blowing up of Albania. It does not work, and that's going to be painful for them, because now they've got Italian fleet tree, Italian army Albania, army Tyrolia, army Venice, fleet Apulia, and some obviously hostile German units now in Galicia and Silesia and Prussia and Moscow as well. You know what would have been helpful on that Russian front? That Russian army that was in Ukraine. It wouldn't have been amazingly helpful, but if you're working with Russia here, you don't want them to keep their northern fleets.
Yes. You are 100% correct.
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, I feel like that kind of covers everything that happened this phase. There wasn't, like, a lot of it was just holding space down here. Russia is sort of out of this at the moment, just doing what they can to hold what they can. And this poor Austrian army has got to be feeling some regrets over there in Warsaw.
Certainly feeling some regrets. Also, I suspect Austria's feeling regrets about not supporting Trieste into Venice.
Yep.
This position from Austria, now that you're losing Adriatic Sea, you will not ever get another opportunity to take Venice like that. So you needed to go for it. Like, the fact that it was there means you wish you'd hit it, but I of course don't fault him. It's okay. I take it back. I think this is potentially predictable if you're willing to use Vienna to tap Tyrolia anyways. But whatever, it's fine. Just feels bad.
Yep. Well. Shall we
This
go?
is the fall turn, right?
Yeah, this is the fall. Shall we go to the winter?
No one
There's
changed, right?
no winter. That's okay.
Yeah, Trieste and Greece changed hands, and Warsaw and Moscow changed hands, and
I
that's it.
think
So,
me forgetting that winter doesn't exist is a thing on the bingo card. So if
yeah,
anyone
that's
has
half of
that,
a
all right. Well, so let's go ahead to the spring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch there be a winter now. Maybe there was something to span. No, okay, it is the spring. Albania gets. Oh, Austria saves his fleet.
Yeah,
He
because
did it.
Italy took too long and like didn't care about anything with his life. I feel like this Italian does not appreciate how valuable it would be to disband that Austrian fleet.
They could have forced. They could have forced disbanded it by support holding Albania with Greece. Here, they decided to support an attack on Bulgaria
Yeah,
instead.
I mean, if you're doing that, there's theoretical chance that Bulgaria taps Greece, but whatever, dude. I mean,
Yeah,
honestly, Bulgaria should have done that, and Khan should have supported Black Sea to Bulgaria probably, because Galicia's not going to Romania. Let's be real here.
yeah. Well, it might. There's always the potential.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not. And then Italy chose to not support himself into Trieste because he was too worried about Vienna support Trieste to Tyrolia.
But Germany was cussing Vienna. Well, I guess Germany didn't say where he was going, probably because it was.
Yeah, but you should probably still attack Trieste to strength too, anyways.
Yeah. Well,
Whatever. I mean, whatever.
it would have been better for the Italian even to just pull Albania up with three, with strength three. I mean, then you definitely don't force disband Adriatic. That's true. So, yeah. But well, they have to deal with that fleet for at least another turn now. To be fair, it can't do a lot in Albania. It's certainly not as useful as it was in Adriatic, but it's still a fleet, so you still have to keep it surrounded.
And it still can tap Adriatic, so we don't have the complete naval dominance you would have had otherwise.
Yeah, and importantly, this is doing what those Russian fleets were doing in the north to Germany. This is doing this to Italy. He cannot move out of Ionian entirely while that fleet is still alive. He cannot rotate back towards Iberia right now. So maybe Germany will be able to get the jump on Italy after all. Seems a bit of a far off possibility from this position because Germany isn't growing that much and Italy still has the potential to take Paris. But it is still a possibility that Germany could take those centres. Like, could just have a run at it.
I think this fleet Albania means Austria plus Russia have a guaranteed capture of Greece here. Albania to Ionian, Khan to Aegean, Serbia supports Bulgaria to Greece.
That's
Romania gets to cover Bulgaria. So
that's true. Yeah, Aegean gets cut, so there's no chance of any counter push. Yep, I think that's true. So Italy is losing Greece. They do probably
they are taking Trieste, probably.
Trieste in that case, yeah.
But maybe they just self-found in Trieste again. Who knows?
It's possible. This also leaves the Budapest open for Russia to, not Russia, Germany to just walk into, right? I suppose it depends what you do. You probably pull Trieste back if you're expecting it to get taken into Budapest. But yeah.
Yeah, probably. I think Trieste to Budapest is the most natural move in this position.
Yep. And I mean, did we talk about Germany taking Warsaw? I don't think we did. But
No,
they
but,
convoyed
I mean,
in Denmark behind it. They're just pumping those units into that area. They really want to keep Russia right now. They really should have convoyed into Livonia instead, looking at the moves. But maybe they were expecting, but no, because they could have supported
Moscow can
Moscow.
support the move. Yeah, I agree. I think going into Livonia, shocker, was important in this specific position. Who could have guessed?
Yep. And interesting, they just left Sweden out to dry in favor of getting more armies onto the Russian fronts. But Russia wasn't able to take advantage of that, so right now anyway. Shall we move ahead to the fall?
Let's see it.
Alright. Fall 1998. Russia is putting their army back in St. Petersburg, which is like what you want, really. You do like that army being there rather than the fleet. But that fleet position isn't really promising still.
I mean, but Germany didn't position to force Bothnia. They could have supported Denmark into Sweden and then had 2 on Bothnia, but instead they did it from Baltic Sea instead, so...
That says they're hoping to try and get Russia to disband their fleets themselves, maybe? But Russia's not losing any centers, so that's not going to happen. Well...
I'm just not even gonna think about it. I'm not gonna worry about it.
Oh man, so Germany is actually, I think, so this convoy into Prussia makes sense to some extent now, because it's like, okay, he is just going all in against Austria. That's what his plan was. And, oh man, they should have taken that attack on Bulgaria, on Greece even. Russia did the right move for it. Austria just decided not to go for it.
Yes,
For some
and
reason.
instead gained nothing, right? There was...
Yep, lost Trieste. And
I haven't even looked at it. Do these moves even cover anything?
well, they cover Budapest against that German unit.
Okay.
He tapped Tyrolia and he tapped Adriatic. But he tapped Tyrolia with Trieste, so that didn't protect Trieste in any way. That wouldn't have cut support, because you can't cut support by tapping a unit that's attacking that unit. Albania tapping Adriatic. I guess maybe he was expecting Tyrolia to Vienna and then Adriatic support Venice to Trieste. But surely you've got to think that the Italian thinks it's quite valuable to blow up your fleet here. Even there, well, this was very clearly with the intention of, okay, I'll keep Trieste if he tries to support Venice to Trieste in this sense. But it did not work. And he would have been much better taking Greece.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough to do too badly if you take your guaranteed center that's likely going to be disbanding something.
Yeah.
It's hard to go too wrong with that. If you always do that move every time, you can get a little predictable and people can punish you. But even still, you're usually... It's hard to go too wrong making those moves.
Yep. Austria doesn't...
It's easy to go too wrong when you don't do that. Hence, look at Austria's moves.
Yeah. Austria doesn't even get to choose any of their disbands, or because they lose Warsaw and Trieste and they got forced in Trieste and Albania, so those are their units off the board. They get to keep this fleet Romania, which I'm sure is very useful.
I'm sure they're ecstatic about that.
Yeah, and this army in Ukraine that is trapped by German units.
Oh god, yeah, and taking Greece from Serbia means Trieste stays alive. God.
That's true, and they could have taken one of those less useful units off the board.
Actually, they wouldn't have even needed to, because they're only down one in that
They
case.
wouldn't have, that's true.
Yeah,
the Austrian position is getting worse by the phase. They just, they are... This is so bad. It's so bad, and it doesn't look as bad as it is because there's not that many Italian armies on this front. But just having Ukraine separated out like this, plus Fleet Romania that can't actually aid in the homeland, Austria has to defend all these centres with just 3 armies. Plus, we haven't even talked about Turkey, the fact that Italy can just walk in and take whatever they want from there whenever they want it. They just haven't yet because they've been more annoyed with the German, not with the German units, with the Austrian units. So, yeah. Not looking good for Austria right now. Not in the slightest. Germany does get a build. This is the thing that happened. So they could build Army Munich and maybe decide to go against the Italian, but it looks like they're pretty heavily committed to not going against the Italian right now.
Yeah. I don't think Germany is in position to take much from Italy right now. That said, these fleets from Germany are better than the Italian fleets. Namely, there are 3 of them, and Italy only has 2. But also, Norwegian and North border Edinburgh, so they can take it.
Yep. This is true, and they could convoy Norway over to Edinburgh in particular, and, start a proper assault on the British Isles if they wanted to, but they are kind of hamstrung by the fact that these Russian centres in the south are maintaining Russian units in the north. And this is why Italy is happy to leave those Russian centres Russian, despite the fact that Russia is constantly tapping Aegean or doing whatever, because it's slowing down his major opposition. I feel like leaving Russia intact in this way turned out to be an absolutely terrible decision on the Austrian part.
Yes.
So,
I completely agree.
Shall we go ahead to the winter?
Let's do it.
All right. Winter 98. Builds Army Munich, but it could well be just anti-Austrian. And from the Italian, there's Fleet Naples, Army Rome. So that's all kind of predictable. We do need to do our power rankings now.
I think Germany's position has officially become better than Italy's position.
It's interesting. I think, honestly, I'd probably agree. Just 5 fleets down here doesn't seem very helpful. Albania, Greece, Aegean, Ionian, Naples, when really the area of conflict that's going to happen is in the west over here, where Germany has the advantage. Germany still has to contend with Barents and Bothnia, but they're not as much of a threat.
If they have enough units, they can handle them pretty easily. It would be much better if they had taken Sweden from Denmark, because then they could take Bothnia and then basically force disband Bothnia this year. Instead, it's not, but they can still get Barents and Bothnia and St. Pete off. If they have the willingness to commit, let's say, Warsaw to Livonia, Silesia to Warsaw, then they're gone this year. And that's just really important.
Yeah. This is true. I mean, so, see, I think I agree. I think Germany is in the stronger position, and actually this moving on Austria may well work out for them, because that's where they're going to get their 18th if they are going to solo this. I don't think it's in Iberia. Italy can still get there on time. Germany has a really nice route to 18 here. They can just force Edinburgh, go for Liverpool after that, try and get Brest and push. Trying to get into France is difficult, but if they can then try and just grab Vienna here and Budapest for their win.
They're at 12, plus 2 from England is 14, plus 1 from Brest is 15, plus St. Pete is 16, so it sounds like they would need 2 more.
Yep. Vienna, Budapest, that is where they're positioning to try and take them. Sevastopol, maybe even. If they can blow up Ukraine here, they have a very good shot at Sevastopol.
If Romania moves back to Black Sea, that becomes less of a good shot, but totally well within the realm of possibility.
Yes, this is true. Well, so I guess the other question is Austria or Russia higher here in the hierarchy? I think...
Austria is still higher?
You think Austria is higher? I think
They're both
purely
tough,
from
but Austria has its home centers under control, Russia doesn't.
Yeah, but I also think more people have reason to keep Russia alive than people have reason to keep Austria alive right now. Because Italy wants those Russian units in the north to stay as a counterbalance to Germany. And Austria, both Italy and Germany are just bearing down on right now. That would be my thought process on that one.
Okay.
But at the same time, I do think I get, from a positional perspective, it seems insane that Russia could be rated higher than Austria here because Austria has all of their units in a clump. It's trying to protect its homeland, whereas Russia has 3 units protecting St. Petersburg and 1 unit protecting Constantinople, Ankara, and Smyrna. And
Yeah, but
Italy,
your point is no one wants to take those centers from Russia, and everyone wants to take those centers from Austria. So
yeah.
Austria's position is worse.
Well, should we put Austria in last place then? Are you
I
good with
think
that?
I agree.
All right. Well, there's our new power rankings. They are no longer positioned exactly according to our numerical rankings or such like. They are just in order. But Germany first, Italy in second, Russia in third, and Austria in fourth down there at the bottom. So, now that Austria is in their in their normal position, shall we move into spring of 1999?
Let's do it.
We are so close to the turn of the millennium. And, well, it looks like Italy is anti German now, right? They tried to support Hold Vienna. Tried to being the important word there. But yeah, I think honestly. Yeah, it does just look like Italy has decided, okay, let's force a stalemate and draw, right?
Yes, I believe that is certainly what it looks like. If we were in a different game on this position, I would say Italy is going to try to maintain his top spot and have a good top. But I don't believe that the rest of the countries on this board are going to accept that.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. The, well, the Russian and the Austrian, I think soon they don't have a choice. Um, it's either German solo or draw. And draw is slightly better in terms of what they get, right? It's interesting. So the Italian is very clearly protecting against the German here. So this could be arranged. The self bounce in Burgundy is clearly they have some arranged self bounces here, but Edinburgh to Clyde is a very defensive move. The Italian will not have mentioned that, and they will have just said Norway needs to move to Clyde. Like that, as in this is in case Norway is convoyed over to Clyde using Norwegian here, sets up to attack Liverpool and Edinburgh at the same time.
Yeah, but if they're convoying Norway, aren't they convoying it to Yorkshire?
It's probably true, to be honest. Maybe they thought North Sea would be doing other stuff, supporting Belgium to English Channel or something. I don't know. But they, like, actually, probably what they thought would be going on would be something like North Sea to English Channel, maybe Belgium to Picardy and Denmark fill in North Sea, but then Germany would be not paying attention to these Russian units, which could have been a mistake in that case.
Yeah, but Russia's still not, or Germany is still not paying attention to these Russian units, anyways.
This is true,
He
even
just
though.
hasn't.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, he just hasn't positioned himself to disband Gulf of Bothnia, and he's had like 3 years to do it. He didn't force disband Barenci when I saw like 3 years ago he had a guaranteed path to do it, and he just chose not to. I don't know.
I wonder if his play here is to try and make sure those Russian fleets stay on the board so they don't become sudden Russian armies that could stop his solo push later. But it feels short sighted. You need to. Well, no, okay, no, it's not short sighted at all. It feels like too long sighted. Like, you do actually need to gain control of the North before you can even make that solo push. And this is just a big blockade in that right now.
Yeah.
So, in the south, he does manage to pick up Vienna because the Austrian gas is wrong, but it looks like he's not going to get further than that, and he loses Moscow in the process. So.
Yeah, it's definitely rough. It feels to me if Germany is able to get Budapest and hold it, then this is great. If he's not, it will not go well. I do not believe he will be able to hold these Balkan centers. I think Germany will be forced back and therefore lose any chance he has at a solo.
Yeah, especially if Russia retakes Moscow. If Russia can get into a position to get a build here, imagine if Russia builds like Fleet St. Petersburg.
Good God.
I mean, no, Russia would build Army St. Petersburg. That is 100%.
He better.
But
Dude, I don't know. People in this game like their fleets, man.
this is true. If Russia can get a build here, that's devastating for the German. Well, not devastating, but it's painful.
Very, very painful.
Yeah. So, I mean, and yeah, Italy turning around, positioning against him. It looks like the rest of the board is getting into a position where they're saying, okay, we are defending against this German threat. And that's just perfect for Italy. Shall we go ahead to the fall?
Let's do it.
Alright. Fall 1999. Oh, Germany with our second successful hostile support over here.
Also against the Russian.
Yep, Russia attempted to self-bounce St. Petersburg so they could get that build there. Germany went, nope. Barents is going into St. Petersburg. I'm bringing my fleet behind it. I'm finally going to disband one of these Russian fleets.
Okay, but why didn't we support Bothnia in there?
Yeah, it's not the Russian fleet that you want to disband. And
If
Denmark...
we supported...
Denmark... Yes. Oh, why? Okay, this just seems very suboptimal on the German part. Like, I get wanting to rotate everything round up here. You want to make sure you're in North Sea and Norwegian to establish some kind of barrier, but Denmark needs to be in Baltic. It needs to be in Baltic so much right now.
But, okay, if you had supported it the other way, if you had supported Bothnia into St. Petersburg, you don't need Denmark in the Baltic Sea. You can just move straight into Bothnia, and then St. Pete is clogged in on the south coast. You take St. Pete and you move Norway to Finland. Boom, St. Pete gets popped. You can take Barents sometime later. But instead, like this, yeah, you needed the fleet in the Baltic. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. And like Germany reverses completely on this front over here, moving into Livonia and Ukraine, Warsaw. He does keep Vienna, so he is not going to disband despite losing Moscow. And he seems to have made amends with the Italian play. They are still moving a unit west in the form of Turenian, but it's going to Lyon. It's like purely defensive.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, to be fair, this third Italian unit basically does say you can never break Iberia anymore.
Yep.
Iberia is super locked now.
Yep. And I mean, that's kind of the state of the board reflects that Germany is nowhere near their solo. They just can't make it anymore. The rest of the powers seem to all be on the same page, although Russia clearly wanted Austria to go into Ukraine, and Austria just said, no, I'm going to tap Sevastopol instead, which is an odd choice.
Yeah, whatever.
Maybe Austria was trying to get Sevastopol to move into Ukraine so that he could pick up a center, which he kind of needed, because now he's going to have to disband, but I imagine he just takes Black Sea off, right?
I mean, I don't think there's anything else for him to disband. Everything else is sitting on a center.
I mean, the other option is take off Bulgaria and just, like, convoy Romania into Turkey and start, like, trying to grow that way. Because Italy doesn't want Germany to win. So if you abandon your home centers when Germany's in this position, Italy's going to start panicking and go, hey, how can I help you defend these? So...
And then you're going to say, well, you can't. You need to give me some centers so that I can defend them myself. Right? That has to be your negotiation position.
Yeah.
And say if he does it, he does it. But you can stop him from taking anything else in England. You have to hit him over there right now, and you have to give me these. But
Yeah,
I mean, that's just not going to
you
happen.
get Italy to give you Trieste back, maybe, and you say, "I'll defend my home centers if you do this."
Yep.
But I don't know if Italy even actually needs to accept that, because even if the Austrian ran away, actually no, the German solo threat is very real if that happens. Yeah, if Austria
Yeah.
just completely attempts to
I
throw.
mean, it's worse if Austria pushes into Greece and Trieste and tries to take them with German support. Then suddenly Budapest, Romania, and Bulgaria are all actually going to fall. And I
Yeah,
mean, if Austria keeps Black Sea on the board, then suddenly he can support Germany into Sevastopol. And then that's really a problem because Austria can help Germany break the the Russian position in Turkey.
yep. Well, I mean, I think as Austria, I would seriously consider just like disbanding Bulgarian. Well, no, maybe not disbanding Bulgaria, disbanding like Budapest maybe, and then pushing into Constantinople or such like, unless the Italian agrees to my demands. And maybe even if the Italian agrees to my demands, you just take that corner position and then you try and push back out again, so that you have. It's very very risky because it does risk the German solo, but I mean, at this point, feels like if Austria wants a 20 center solo, they probably need to do something drastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not going to matter.
Yeah. Shall we go into winter?
Yeah, let's see it.
Alright, winter 1999.
Yeah, Black Sea comes off.
Black Sea off the board. Okay, so Austria is just going to huddle up in those 4 supply centers it has left. Um, no, not a great position for him. Russia is technically +1, but they can't build, so because they've got St. Petersburg stuck in there, and that's going to be forced. Shall we go ahead to the spring?
Yeah, let's see it. I mean, come on.
Oh, bingo! I should say we didn't actually make the bingo cards, which was very disappointing. We should have done, but this is another thing on the bingo card. This is the free space, I think. Germany NMRs in a decade. He nearly went the full decade without an NMR that time.
Yeah, but I mean, again, this position really mattered.
This is a very painful. It's hard, like especially since it's the turn that Italy stabs him. Goes into English Channel, goes into Paris, goes into Marseille, ready to attack Burgundy. He needed to at least knock that Russian fleet in St. Petersburg off the board, probably cover Baltic as well. Or, like, the fact that Russia is in Baltic is ouch. The fact that Russia forced Ukraine off is another ouch. It's just. This is not.
Yeah,
This is not one of those times where you NMR and your position gets better.
this is the most punishing NMR we've seen the entire game by far.
Yep. Oof.
Yeah, there goes Germany.
Yeah, and Germany not gonna lose London. Importantly, here they can bounce that, but they're gonna lose Vienna most likely. Well, maybe not lose Vienna because I don't know whether it's in the Austrians' interest to help this attack anymore. They should probably just try and take Trieste back, right? It's not gonna work, but with Austrian assistance, it can. Not Austrian assistance, German assistance.
Yeah, and maybe Germany would do it, but I don't even know if they would. It's just feels to me like this has sealed this game's fate, and I don't think you can stop Italy from getting a critical position now.
I
This
mean,
this free turn, mobilizing everything to the west, Piedmont to Marseille, Venice to Piedmont. It's just
it is pretty devastating.
even if
Like,
everyone else on the board starts coordinating maximally efficiently right now, right? Black Sea needs to get back to Khan. Right, Khan's not an Aegean. If Khan's an Aegean, then you can at least take Greece and do something, but that's not on the table. Um, Baltic, like, okay, if Germany can ignore Baltic entirely and push everything west, maybe. But even then, Paris can support Marseille to Burgundy, and that's just Germany's going to fall from the west.
Yeah, it's
But
just
Italy doesn't need to win, right? If Italy needed to win, then this game might have some life in it, because then you have to stop Italy from soloing. But Italy just needs to get to a big enough position to just be like, all right, we're good.
yeah.
Yeah, this is
Well, I mean, I assume Germany is still going to blow up St. Petersburg here. They can very easily do that. And then Russia is going to get another rebuild. Russia can't really help against the Italian, though. That's quite important. And the other main threat to the Italian, the Austrian, is really not. They really can't contest them very easily. They can take Trieste with German assistance, and that's it. So, if anything, the existence of the Russian is just a massive boon to the Italian right now.
yes. All of these units are worthless against Italy.
Yep, especially those two fleets in the north. But, like, even the fleet in the south, which is potentially the most useful unit against Italy, is not in the right place to be doing it, and clearly has some kind of agreement with Italy anyway. So, well, I mean, shall we go ahead to the autumn?
Yeah.
Alright, well, fall 2000. And Austria is not even moving against Italy. They are just sitting in those 4 supply centres. And even then, the German didn't bother contesting the Italian. They just left London to the Italian here. They went all out to try and contest Baltic, which didn't even do anything, really. It just tapped Sweden. Man. It just feels like everything's coming up Italy right now.
Yeah, I mean, we said it's unclear what would happen if the rest of the board mobilized to defend against Italy as much as possible, and that didn't happen. So,
Yeah. Just, I mean, Russia moved to Constantinople. That looks like the only move on the board that had any anti-Italy intent whatsoever.
yeah, and I mean, English Channel walked into London, so Italy's guaranteed building 2, right?
Yep.
And then they put an army in Venice and maybe army Rome. I don't think they need another fleet, but who knows? They can do whatever they want, and
I feel
if
like
they hold Trieste,
I'd do army Naples and then convoy into Albania, maybe, or Greece. Or you could
yeah,
convoy
yeah.
into Turkey even. I think there is some threat of an Italian solo at this point, because Italy's going to 14. They
Oh,
need
I
4.
agree. There's definitely threat of this, and especially because the board isn't reacting.
Yeah.
I mean, the Italian solo threat is very real.
I wonder if the German thought that their negotiation could work again, because it has been working for a long time. They've been saying to the Italian, I'll keep working with you if you just don't take my supply centers. So that maybe they went back to that this time and said, hey, you can go back to Mid-Atlantic Ocean, you can walk out of Paris. I'll just keep going for Russia/Austria and help you out. But clearly, it's not in the Italians' interest to do that. They can just lock up this front. And they have done. They've made massive progress. This game looks... at the turn of the millennium, this game looks incredibly pro-Italy right now. Shall we go to the winter and do our power rankings? I don't think there's much need for more analysis of this phase. Yeah.
I mean, when you just see all of these units push to the east when Italy is making progress in the west and is already on 12, so going up to 14, it's just...
Yep.
I don't know, we've seen it before, and there's not going to be much more.
Alright, well...
Munich's lost. Oh my god.
Sorry?
Munich is lost.
Oh, it is. There's Tyrolia and Burgundy. I was thinking of Tyrolia as an anti-Austrian front unit, but you're right. It can just immediately pivot. This is terrible for Germany. It's like their entire position has fallen apart.
You can also walk into Ruhr if you don't feel like taking Munich.
Yeah.
I think Munich is better, but the fact that you can also move into Ruhr is just...
You can go Ruhr, backfill Burgundy with Paris, and still take Munich on the next turn instead. Well, it depends what Warsaw and Galicia do, right?
The rest of the board has to respond to the Italian solo threat now. So I think it's fair to assume there's going to be an army in Silesia, Bohemia, and Prussia.
Yeah.
So I think if you don't take Munich now, you're not taking it. And if you take Munich now in the spring, then if they force you out of Munich in the fall, you can still retreat into Ruhr. So I think Munich is probably the right move. You can also move to take Belgium, and then with Belgium, you are Belgium is essentially you can hold, unlike Munich, which you can't.
Yep.
You
And
get into
then,
English Channel. Yeah, I mean Italy is first place. It's like the question of does Italy solo or not is what we're discussing. And Italy, as you talk this whole game, doesn't even need to solo. So yeah, I don't think there's Italy's the one. And everyone else doesn't matter, basically.
yep. I mean, for completeness, Germany is second, obviously. The
Yes,
other two, yeah, I feel like Austria is, well, no, because
I think
now the
Russia's position
Russian,
is better now.
well, now the Russian centers in Turkey are going to fall because there's no reason for the for Italy to just let them stand while he's got a solo run going, right?
Yeah, then we're having a more tactical questions because it's unclear if it is worth it for Italy to use these fleets to take Smyrna as opposed to holding Greece,
Oh,
for example.
especially with Army Sevastopol being built, that's probably going to
Exactly.
Armenia. Yeah.
If Italy had an extra fleet in the south that was built already, I would agree that Smyrna and the rest of Turkey will likely fall quickly. But as is, I'm not sure of that fact at all. So I'm not. I would definitely say that I would rather play Russia here than Austria.
Okay, but you are correct that it's basically not relevant at this point. Um,
Yeah.
so I have adjusted our power rankings here to have the Hanged Man in Italy way up at the top, and then Germany somewhere in the middling zone, and then Russia, and then Austria at the very bottom. This is even then the German position here is just painful to play still. I feel like I might even have put him too high relative to the others, but yeah, he's still between Russia and Italy. Um, Obviously, you'd rather play the German position than the Russian or the Austrian right now.
Yeah, probably.
Probably?
11 centers to 5. Probably.
Okay, so shall we go ahead to spring of 2001?
Let's do it.
Alright. Spring 2001. Germany is turning around, but relies on a Russian convoy that doesn't happen.
Yeah, the convo would have made a lot of sense, actually. Kiel is a much better place for that army than Prussia.
Yep.
That's good
I'm
tactical shot. I didn't see that.
Man, maybe Russia was just trying not to annoy Italy to the point that Italy would go against them. But
And then
you
London
you
maybe
need
needed to.
you need to unite to stop the solo here.
Yeah, and London needed to tap North Sea, excuse me, and then you would have bounced Norwegian,
That's true.
kept your position. Why did
So,
Edinburgh move to Yorkshire?
probably to prevent a convoy. Was there any
What
convoy
convoy?
potential? There's
Literally,
no
what convoy?
convoy potential. Okay, that's odd. Um, Usually when you see this move here, it is just to prevent a convoy to Yorkshire. Uh,
Yeah, but Italy doesn't look like it's going to solo from here. The German army getting into Tyrolia behind and Bohemia and Silesia means that Munich is going to fall. And so Italy can take Belgium, maybe take Holland, but unlikely. But there are enough German fleets to support hold North Sea that North Sea will never go anywhere. And yeah, I mean, because Livonia is not in Kiel, then Ruhr is still vulnerable once Belgium goes. But I don't think that matters that much. Right,
yeah,
Italy's going to be +1 this year, but
just
Italy's not in position to take Turkey.
thinking about position, I think Germany has enough fleets to try and push. Like, is there a stalemate line here for the Italian? I don't think there is. They could get pushed back if everyone unites against them, right?
Yeah, there's no stalemate line around the North Sea and around England.
But the fact that they have no opposition in, well, I say they have no opposition in the south. The Russian did just get into the Aegean Sea.
I mean, yeah, but that's still the only southern fleet on the board, and Italy still has 3.
Yes.
So, okay, let's assume Italy loses Greece. Okay. Then Italy goes back to Ionia, and they're still gaining Belgium, and then they're going to retake Aegean and then repressure. So it's. But this misguess with where does Adriatic support is punishing for Italy. It really does suck.
Yeah, getting the army into Albania would have set up quite well here, especially with Vienna leaving. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and now Army Rome's got stuck in Rome, which is also a bad spot for it to be in.
yeah, it feels terrible. Makes you really wish you built Fleet Naples instead, because Fleet Naples and Ionian here would have been very, very useful, whereas Army Rome and Rome in this particular move sucks.
Even Army Naples would have probably been preferable because you could have convoyed it over with support from Trieste instead
Instead
of
of doing
getting
this whole
stuck.
thing,
Yep, but
yes.
it was a
And
yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a good argument. If you're going for Albania, perhaps Army Naples would have been better, because then Venice can support hold Trieste, Adriatic can support the move in, and then you still have two on Trieste, but you're attacking Albania with strength two, but this strength two can't be cut. So I think it is just better if you're going for Albania to build Army Naples instead.
Yeah,
But then you're using Ionian to convoy instead of moving to Eastern Med.
this
So
is
that's the cost.
true, but like, was it an advantage to get into Eastern Med here with Constantinople going to Aegean, you having to cover Greece? This, I mean, they've just lost Greece, right?
Yeah, Greece does not. I mean, technically, we don't know if he's lost Greece because if Trieste taps Serbia and oh no, I'm a numbnut. Yeah, he's definitely lost Greece.
Yep. Of course, it doesn't matter too much in terms of enemy builds because it's probably going to Austria, and Austria does not have the open centers to build in, unless he can somehow make Budapest stay open,
He
which
would
would be a
probably go to Vienna. Would be my bet.
yeah,
Bohemia supports Budapest to Vienna,
and then like
and then
Romania to Budapest, and hope that that gets bounced.
something like that.
Um, but most likely his center is not going to be open for a build. But still, getting an extra build would be nice, so not losing Greece. Um, but overall, still good position for Italy, not unbreakable. As we've mentioned in the north, they do not have a stalemate lineup here. They just have a very strong position.
Yep.
Shall we go to the fall?
Let's do it.
All right. Fall 2001. Well, Italy does lose Greece, and Austria gets a build.
Yep.
They get Budapest open because the Italian decided to try and work with the German.
Hilariously, yeah. Of course, Germany's gonna reject that.
Yep. I guess maybe they thought that Germany's willingness to work with them earlier would now let them work, but given they just walked into Munich, you think, well, this is.
He clearly was supposed to support himself into Tyrolia,
Yep.
just very clearly.
Yeah, and this has meant that Rome got stuck back there for another phase. It's just
Yeah, it went to Tuscany, which can now cover Piedmont, which is perhaps the argument for not taking Tyrolia last turn, because they would have retreated to Piedmont, which is always annoying for Italy.
Yep.
But we see Munich does retreat into Ruhr, as we expected. I did not expect to see North Sea get knocked out, but that's because Denmark needed to move to Kiel to cover Kiel and Berlin from the Munich retreat because Livonia didn't get convoyed.
Yep.
So, and then what? North Sea tapped Yorkshire or something?
North Sea.
No, it tapped English Channel.
Tapped English Channel. Interesting choice.
Instead of just support holding North Sea. I mean, interesting is one way to describe it. Terrible is the other way to describe it.
It tried to take English Channel, right? It was with Belgium's support, but it
Yeah, but
felt
Belgium's
fairly
always getting attacked
unlikely.
from Picardy.
Yeah, that Belgium was going to be able to issue that support. The tap is clearly to try and prevent a take of Belgium. Maybe he was hoping that Burgundy would support hold Munich here instead of supporting the attack on Belgium. But North Sea is more important as a province than Belgium. This compromises the
Then why
German line
didn't
a
Belgium
bit.
just tap English Channel? Just scissors on English Channel and you're fine. Belgium is going to get
That's
tapped anyways.
actually true. Belgium should have double tapped. That's would have prevented this falling of the North Sea.
Or Skagerrak supports Belgium to the North Sea.
That also
I think
works.
that's even better because then you don't have any risks. Because previously London could support English Channel to North Sea, and then it's potentially awkward. I think in this specific board state, you would actually still prefer that because you want to increase the length of it. You want to make a more complicated position so that Italy can't hold everything. Um, but if you're just trying to hold, then yeah, Skagerrak support Belgium to North Sea.
Yep. Um,
I actually kind of like Russia's decision here to take St. Pete. I think he's saying, if I'm going to solo this game, I will need St. Pete at some point, and this is my opportunity to get it when Germany must say yes. And I will tell Germany, hey, once I take St. Pete, I'm going to use this fleet to help you again, so just let me take it, and then we get our units back to the front more quickly. I like this.
yep. I mean, I agree, and I think it was probably an agreement to swap St. Petersburg for Moscow potentially.
Yeah,
Given that
otherwise
Sevastopol
I
did
don't
not
think.
defend it.
Yeah, because Livonia to Moscow can potentially be bounced out by Sevastopol. And so if you are just guessing in the dark against an enemy, you would cover St. Pete because it's guaranteed going to net you a one center delta, whereas going after Moscow does not guarantee you that. So I
Yes.
think this is very much arranged.
So yeah, and this seems very smart on the Russian front. He's like, I will keep Turkey because everyone wants me to keep Turkey. Sure, the Italian could throw units there, but I can move Sevastopol down as well. I can just do my thing and like retain control down there. I can afford to lose Moscow and Warsaw. The German needs to send all his units west anyway. This army is probably not going to stay here, and even if it does, I will have a chance where I can move 2 units up and take it back. But St. Petersburg, if I can get that, I can start putting fleets down the moment it's safe to do so, and I can get back into the game on that side of the board. Otherwise, I'm just stuck in the south. Yeah, I agree. Fantastic play on his part.
If they hold the solo. If they don't hold the solo, then of course it's terrible play. But
Yeah,
I
but
believe holding the solo is likely enough at this position that you need to be a little bit selfish here.
yes, especially if you're such a small power and you need a solo to win. This. Yeah. I mean, shall we go to the winter?
Let's do it.
Okay, winter 2001. Well, Moscow is off the board, so yeah. Russia could literally just walk back into Moscow and Warsaw here and be a real power again. Obviously, they should wait until Italy's pushed back a bit, but whenever they want it, it's there.
Yeah, and Trieste is going to fall.
Trieste is going to fall. Austria has Army Budapest.
In fact, Trieste is going to fall, and Tyrolia is going to be held, because Vienna supports Old Tyrolia, Tyrolia and Serbia support Budapest to Trieste, and then boom, Trieste goes, and you can't take Tyrolia. And then once you take Trieste, you can then support Hold Tyrolia forever. So,
Yep.
very cool.
So, I mean, there's the Austrian and the Russian getting back on the board, kind of, which actually makes both of their individual attempts to get back on the board a little bit worse because they probably would want the other one not to be as much of a factor. But hey, this is
Just take what you can get.
yep, absolutely. But still, the Italian in a very good position. Shall we go ahead to the spring?
Yeah, I'm just gonna take a bit of time to look at some tactics in the north.
Okie
You can
dokie. Should I like? Oh, are you like taking time to look at potential tactics then?
Yeah, I'm just looking at some stuff. Like Italy's gonna take Norwegian Sea. That's always happening. And then Germany is almost certainly going to recapture North Sea. But then how do you recapture the North Sea and minimize the damage from the potential retreat? My assumption would be you need to use Kiel, move it up to Denmark. You have to concede Holland and have it cover Kiel. And then just stall out there for a long time. But once you've lost Norwegian, it retreats to Barents. So Barents Sea supports Hold Norway, so that's fine. Then you have Denmark support hold Helgoland Bight, so that's okay. And then if there's a fleet in the Baltic to support hold Kiel, you're fine. Berlin supports Munich, and that's a line.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
I already moved ahead to the next phase while you were talking about that, so the viewers will have seen how accurate you were in your predictions. Actually, the answer is pretty damn accurate. In the north, anyway. I mean, I assume you don't want to look at the south.
No, I don't. Oh my.
Oof.
Okay. Well, anyways, they did okay. I I think I like this more from Germany than my moves.
I mean,
Retaking North Sea but covering Denmark.
they were fairly identical to your moves, with the exception that you said that Holland should protect Kiel.
Yeah.
Which I think would have been a bad move because then you can't guarantee north, right? You don't have enough fleets.
Well, my feeling
Oh,
was I
if you.
thought we had guaranteed a line
Mm,
where we didn't lose anything beyond Holland, and I thought that was not worth risking because, like, technically in this position, Ruhr could have moved into Kiel,
this is
and I
true.
think that would have been a problem. I haven't looked at it too much, but I think that would have been a problem. Whereas with my moves, you didn't have to worry about that because you were always safe without North Sea. But
Yeah. Well, I mean,
North Sea is
Germany
fine.
decided to move Munich to Ruhr, which I suppose would have encircled Kiel if it had happened. But they would have also had an army in Holland, so no, I think they could have still blown up Kiel. Uh, it would have been interesting with Tyrolia and Burgundy present, just because of the potential of it being supported down. But
Yeah,
yep,
and of course, if you lose Munich in this position, then Munich can retreat into Silesia or Bohemia and then break the line in the east as well. So,
yeah, this is true.
man, if only Austria was around to input moves.
I so easily decided to go north here. He's just given up on Austria and actually supported Austria into Constantinople. Wouldn't have done anything because of the Russian support on there, but I do wonder whether the two of them were negotiating some kind of pact. That feels like a wrong time for Austria to be negotiating a pact with Italy. That's dealing
I
with the
mean,
devil.
if the pact involves me taking Trieste and Venice or something, I can see that being a good pact.
Well, yeah, actually, if you if he offers you Venice, you take it every time. But
Right? I think so. And so you just, I mean, I don't know about every time. There are times where I don't agree with the pact. If like I'm supporting him into Constantinople, but he's giving me Venice in this position, I don't think I would agree with that.
yeah, that's probably true because then you're just giving
But
a soul. But
yes,
you got to think for yourself and like for your own chances, and maybe working with the person who everyone else is working against might be a good plan if it's netting USCs anyway.
yeah,
Um,
as long as it's minor enough.
yeah,
But because we see Fleet Sev to Armenia, or excuse me, Army Sev. Army Sev is important, not Fleet Sev. Army Sev to Armenia. We can support hold Smyrna strength 3, and as long as Austria doesn't cut Khan, Italy never breaks through in the south.
yep,
And Italy has been stopped in the north, pretty much guaranteed. Again, I haven't double checked it enough, but I see only 3 Italian fleets on the North Sea, and there are currently 4 German fleets bordering North Sea. So even once Clyde gets there, I think North Sea never falls, and
yeah, that
Brent
seems
supports hold
accurate.
Norway.
Plus, there's a
Yeah,
Russian
Bermuda
fleet coming
Norway
through that they
to
could.
Baltic. Yeah,
Yep,
yeah. So I think Italy's been stopped in the north and stopped in the south. So I think Italy has been stopped.
yep, seems that way. Shall we go ahead to fall 2002?
Yeah, let's see it.
All right, see if Austria does more moves this time. They do. They take. Austria supported Aegean into Con.
Well, I mean, hey,
I mean, you said you wouldn't even do that if you were being offered Venice for it.
yeah, I mean, what's also crazy is Germany let Italy into Munich because of this position,
Huh.
they took Holland back.
They They didn't even. They tried to, but North Sea got dislodged because they were using Heligoland to support all the
Oh,
way to
because
Holland.
Denmark moved to Belgium, and the North Sea retreated to Belgium, though. Oh, that's great.
So they got Belgium. North Sea went there on the retreat, but because they were trying to convoy Norway across, usually this is a good idea. If you have to hold a province like North Sea, anything with a fleet, throw a bunch of sports on it and then convoy a unit past. It means you have a good shot at holding the province and you can essentially attack through it. But in this case, using Heligoland to support that move meant that they were very likely to lose North Sea, and they in fact did. So
Yeah, this is what I was. Something like this is what I was worried about previously. I mean, I think my moves would have dodged this with North Sea just being because essentially the difference in my position, we would have had an Italian fleet in the North Sea, but we would have had a German fleet in Kiel.
yeah,
So we can just double support hold Munich, and we can have Denmark support hold Kiel, and then Barents support Norway, and then we just have the line still.
yep. Now Italy is in Munich, which means they did lose a center, so they're still on 14. They don't get any builds out of that. In
I
fact, they
think
lost.
they're actually minus. Yeah,
Yeah, they lost Trieste as well. They could have taken Constantinople,
they. Well, yes, they could have.
but they did not. They tried to support the Austrian in. Clearly, some miscommunication there. I don't know why the Austrian would ever decide to do that. That seems so bad. Giving centers to the person who's already looking to, like, to just draw. So, I don't know. Deal with the devil. And Austria doesn't even get a build out of Trieste because the Russian slips into Romania behind them. That's
Yep,
beautiful. I love that so much. The Russian nicking the Austrian build here.
it's pretty great.
But yes, so a whole
Shall we
bunch
see the
of.
build?
Are there any builds? I don't think.
Russia,
Oh
right?
yeah. Sorry, Russia.
Romania.
Russia goes plus. Germany goes minus. Let's go ahead to the winter. Wait, why is Austria going plus? Oh god, did I miscalculate? Hang on, let me go back. Wait, Russia builds fleet St. Petersburg north coast. Did Austria get something blown up? Oh, Austria was playing down from forever ago.
Sure.
Okay, so anyway, Russia builds fleet St. Petersburg north coast. What? That.
Yeah, I don't really understand that build, but like, I mean, northern fleets are fine. You don't need another southern fleet for sure. So
Russia's trying
this
to get
means,
back in the game, but
well, it means that when Germany loses Belgium, which he's going to lose, he can disband Barentsi, and you can still support hold Norway. I think actually Germany should have disbanded Barentsi this turn, so that Russia can move into Barentsi already.
that would make sense. The Russian fleet taking the position of the German fleet up there, and then
Yeah,
Belgium
to
can
hold this
still
position.
like harass the Italian, try and take back North Sea. Uh, yeah, that seems correct to me.
Oh well. He can get into Norway perhaps.
I
If
feel like
Barentsi supports St. Pete to Norway, Norway to Sweden, and then you just disband Sweden, that works.
yeah,
That's another way to do this.
I just I feel like army would just be better for selfish purposes, right?
Maybe, but whatever. Fleet North Coast does the same thing.
Yeah, alright. Well, let's. We need to do our power rankings. Obviously, Italy's still way ahead in the lead. I almost want to say that. Oh, I don't even know here. Is Austria in a better spot than everyone else?
Um. So I mean, we have Italy as one. Yeah, I like Austria's position more than Germany's or Russia's. Italy has completely left Austria alone on this front, so Austria can do things,
Yeah,
such as walk into Venice.
I think so too. We've got. And then probably. Oh, I kind of want to rate. No, do I want to rate Russia higher than Germany? No, I don't think so. Right, especially not with Fleet St. Petersburg. The fact that Russia could take Warsaw and Moscow if they wanted to is a big thing. Like against Germany, the German position is so weak in that sense. But Austria and Italy are potentially working together, and that spells doom for the Russian. Just straight up.
Yeah, it's that Russia doesn't have the flexibility to take Moscow or Warsaw yet, which
Yeah.
is his problem. So,
Yep.
okay,
So I guess Italy first, Austria second, Germany third, and Russia down there in fourth now.
sounds good. Let's go to the spring, shall we?
Yeah, let's go to spring of 2003.
Okay.
Well, Austria is not helping the Italian into Turkey anymore. Um, but well, what is going on? Okay, so Italy. Let's just look at the north first, because the north is easy, right? It's
Sure.
yeah. So
Denmark made it into Kiel, and English Channel made it into Belgium, and everything else bounced.
yeah, everyone's just trying to set up a lineup here, and it looks like they're being successful. They just need to pull Heligoland back into Denmark. Would that?
I don't believe that gets there now. Maybe Denmark, Baltic support Kiel, but there's two on Denmark. Something needs to support Denmark. So let's say Skagerrak supports Denmark, then Barents supports Norway. Okay, that works.
Yeah, I think that's a line. Um,
No, because then North Sea taps Denmark, and then Helgoland, Holland, Rurg take Kiel.
yes, sorry, they can. This is actually true, and also we're completely neglecting the fact that these Italian armies are coming up from the south in Bohemia
Yeah, but
and Munich. Um,
yeah,
but yes, so they're forming something of a line, but it's not a solid line right now. This is the important thing.
they need to keep Helgoland, and they need to get something in Denmark. And as long as they can do those things, they're fine. And they have the extra unit in St. Pete. It's just awkward that St. Pete didn't support Barents Sea to Norway because now it just bounced and they're going to have to do this again.
Yeah,
I
this is a
don't,
guessing game because
I,
Norwegian could rotate into Barents.
I don't think that they have the time to have Barents support St. Pete to Norway, which is obviously what you want to do. If you were playing alone, but they were the same color, you would just have Brent support St. Pete to Norway, and then you'd move on with your life. I think I think they'd done that in the spring. They might have been able to, but in the fall, it's tough.
It's also a case
Yeah.
of that loses the German another centre, and that's just what do they even disband at that point?
Well, probably Galicia.
Yeah, I mean it would have to be.
And Austria is back in Tyrolia behind the Italian. And so if we can assume that Austria is willing to not let Italy solo, then I think we can expect some Italian support.
Yeah,
Or
it's
some Austrian support against Italy, excuse me.
important to think here. Like Austria could have gone with Vienna into Tyrolia, and they would have had a shot at Venice here. No, actually, would they? No, they wouldn't, because they could have tapped Tyrolia with Munich and then supported
Yeah.
with Tyrolia.
I mean, it would have had a
with
shot at Venice. It's
But
just the
yes,
50-50.
yeah. But Austria is seemingly attacking Tyrolia in a pro-Italy fashion. So they're taking Romania at the same time. So they're clearly wanting to work with Italy at least to some degree here.
Yes.
Italy, I guess, not sure that they trust Austria right now. They're backing out of
I
Syria
wouldn't.
and Eastern Med.
I don't think you could leave Venice open.
Yeah,
I think
no, I'm talking about Ionian down here.
Sure.
They leave their anti-Turkish position, despite the fact that Austria tried to support them into Constantinople last turn.
Yep.
Yeah,
I like it. I mean, he wasn't going to get anything there for in Austria. I think Austria realized the mistake that he made and wasn't going to make that support again.
that would make sense.
All right, I think we've looked at this enough. Let's go to the fall.
All right, fall 2003.
There we go.
So, when you say there we go, what are we looking at here? Oh, yes,
Bohemia
the
got
Austrian.
popped.
Yes, the Austrian finally dedicating their units to the cause, and they self-bounce in Trieste so they can put a fleet down.
Of course.
Of course they do.
I mean, here's actually a really good time because they can waive their other build.
This is,
Or
do
they only
have
got
another?
one.
They only got one.
They only got one. I was assuming they'd taken Venice for some reason, but no, that they did not do that.
But yes, it is still a good time to get a fleet down. The Italian does not really have a great many fleets on this front. They just have the one. So you can slip this one down in Albania and annoy them.
Why did Skagerrak self-bounce with Sweden and Denmark? They were worried about Russia moving into Sweden, I suppose?
Maybe? Seems an odd choice.
Whatever,
but
man.
it wasn't under threat, so I suppose it was kind of fine.
Yep.
Norway was under threat, so that was risky Norway here.
Yeah. But hey, it didn't cost them, so was perfect.
And I would have loved to see Tyrolia to Piedmont here. Although
that would have been very cool, very pretty.
Italy would have. Italy is getting a build here, right, from Belgium. So
Yes. And in fact, another one because Bohemia got popped, so.
yeah, that seems to put a big. That seems to give Austria some problems in their attempted attack of Italy here if they do go for it.
Yes.
But everything has funneled out of Russia, so maybe Austria can make a stab there. But then everyone just gives the solo to Italy if you do that, so it's just kind of hamstrung at this point.
Absolutely.
Shall we go ahead to the fall?
Yeah, let's see it.
Oh, I say fall, winter.
Yeah, there goes Galicia, there goes Sweden, as we expected.
Yeah, and Fleet
And
Trieste.
does Munich fall? I believe Munich only falls if it's taken from Tyrolia, but I assume that is worth it. It's very nice that there's only the one fleet. There's no fleet in Holland, it's an army in Holland, so you don't need to worry about Helgoland Bight being taken for a while.
Yep. This is true.
And have Helgoland and Baltic support hold Kiel. Oh man, it's so close to just being locked. It's just not quite. Because if North Sea taps... No, Helgoland Bight taps Holland instead. Yeah, Helgoland Bight taps Holland, and then Berlin, Silesia, Bohemia support Tyrolia to Munich. And then Baltic Sea supports hold Kiel. And then you cannot lose Kiel. And you take Munich. And then once you've taken Munich, Tyrolia is covered by Vienna, so they're not in Tyrolia. And then Munich can support hold Kiel, which means Baltic Sea can go to Denmark. So we are set.
Yeah, if Baltic Sea goes to Denmark, we do lose another German unit.
Yeah, but then we can lose Silesia or something.
Yeah, I think that's probably fine from that position.
Yeah.
So yes, it does seem fairly locked. Shall we go ahead to the spring?
I think there was like a guess for Italy to tap Denmark or go to Norway at some point in the moves I made, but I think we're fine.
Well, I did move ahead while you were saying that.
Okay, they had a very different approach here.
They did. They went for Piedmont. The Austrian wanted that.
Piedmont.
And the Italian just said, hey, I don't need the solo. I just need to hold my position, to force you all to draw. So I think I'll just back off to a point where I can successfully do that and defend everything, and then I'll just wait it out, I guess.
Yeah, I thought that they had the line. I thought that he had the line where he was anyways, but I assume this is a line anyways. It just, how are you going to break North Sea from here?
Yeah.
Belgium would convoy out to Wales instead of being in like Picardy or something because you don't need it. That's funny.
Yep. I mean, If it
Yeah, I don't know.
works.
I feel like we just have the stalemate line set up, and we
Um,
know the game is about to end. So
Interesting that the Italian backs out of the Adriatic to Apulia for some reason. That
yeah, I feel like that's not a good way to set up the stalemate line, but it also doesn't matter because Eastern Med can cover Ionian, Apulia can cover Ionian, Tyrrhenian Sea can cover Ionian, so it doesn't matter.
yeah, but if they, oh yeah, no, okay, that's right. Because even if they went to Adriatic and Trieste, you've got 3 units on Venice plus Marseille can move into Piedmont. So yeah, uh, well,
And there's no longer, even if you get into Adriatic, you can't convoy into Apulia because the fleet's sitting there.
yep, this is true. And Italy just randomly offering Austria support into Constantinople. Obviously, that's
Yep,
um,
not going to
well.
be accepted.
Shall we go ahead to the fall?
See the fall.
All right, fall 2004.
Yep, Norwegian is locked, and
Well,
then
I mean, let's talk about the north first, I guess, because that's a
yeah.
little less interesting. Um,
So Norwegian is held, it's locked, and then there were two on North Sea, which is support held by English Channel because Holland got tapped. If they'd taken North Sea from Holland, they would have actually taken North Sea, but they
that's
didn't.
true.
So
They would have done.
wait, does this give them a problem? No, because you're getting to build something in Berlin. Okay, it's fine. Never mind.
Do they
Great,
get a?
North is locked.
Oh, they do get a build because they took two, Germany, and Russia only took the one in Denmark.
Yep.
But yeah, um, but the south is really the interesting move here. Austria just completely pivots. They go for Russia. Uh, this is
Yeah, they're taking Con, so they do get a build, but they're gonna build another fleet Trieste.
yeah, it sure looks that way.
I'm betting that Italy is making a mistake here and underestimates how valuable these southern fleets are. For the record, I agree with Austria. If I'm Italy and I'm not playing for a solo, I don't do this at all. I don't think there's upside to it, but there's like a huge risk that somehow things go wrong and Austria gets another fleet in Adriatic and then we like miscalculate and then fleet Khan gets over to Smyrna and taps the Aegean or Eastern Med and then Austria attacks with strength 2 and gets into Ionian, or like they don't do that, but they're in Adriatic, and so then we have to hold Ionian and stop the convoy into Apulia. Meanwhile, we have to hold Venice with strength 3. I don't know. I would not have let Austria get this position, especially if I'm just playing for a draw. If I'm playing to solo, yeah, you got to do things to spice up your life, but I don't think that was necessary here.
Yeah, feels like perhaps a mistake. We're gonna see that fleet Trieste come down, I think. And well, from there things could fall apart. Shall we go ahead to the winter?
Let's see it. Fleet
All
Trieste, I
right.
assume. No. Okay.
No, Army Budapest. Well,
What? Italy even disbanded a southern fleet.
they did. If
Could you imagine if Austria had built Fleet Trieste?
that would have been huge. Oh man,
Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's one of the most interesting things I've seen in this game in the last, like, 50 years. Why is this when they stop playing? Are you kidding me?
this is. I mean, wow. That's a really interesting choice by the Italian. That just feels like the wrong one. Um, Perhaps they thought that Austria was in it with it. So I actually do know the story of how this game ended, like what happened on the very last turn, but I'll save that until we get there. Uh, the
So, like, hypothetically, if Austria had built Fleet Trieste, then Greece supports Trieste to Albania. Western Med needs to come back to Tyrrhenian Sea. Ionian is probably supposed to cover Adriatic. Maybe it goes to Apulia instead. But then Eastern Med needs to go to Aegean or Ionian. Probably Ionian is the safe one. And then if Austria, let's say, takes Ankara with Khan, Black Sea goes to Khan, and then suddenly you're unmatched. Austria can support Khan to Aegean, or it can support Albania to Ionian, and you can't defend both. So, in fact, you just can't even defend Khan to Aegean, period.
yeah,
What?
this just seems super greedy by the Austrian. It's like saying, "Well, I'm gonna go for the Russian centers of the back line here," right?
And this disband from the Italian.
Yeah,
Why not, like, I feel like Western Med is a better disband
Western Med
than
is by
Achievement.
far a better disband. Like, you don't need any more fleets up north, do you? Even if you get pushed back, this feels like enough to stall out the game long enough for someone to stab each other on the other side of the board. This is
Yeah, I'm really confused by these disbands and by everything that Italy did right here. But
yeah, it's just odd.
whatever.
Well, I mean, so the if we do technically have power rankings here, I don't think they change. The Italian stays in first place. Yes, the Austrian would be in second here, German in third, Russia in fourth.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely right.
yeah, I mean,
Let's see these last moves. I'm so curious as to how this game ends right now when everything is
yeah.
wait.
So
Oh,
actually, this is where it ends. You go into the
literally just
spring,
right now.
and they stop playing right here, right now. So I did actually. So it was a little while ago, but I talked to Goldfinger about this specific phase. He said Geese was the draw holdout. He had put his, like Austria and the Goldfinger had put his draw vote up to make the Italian work with him, right? And to ensure that the Italian would do pro-Austrian things. So I assume the disband of Fleet Aegean comes in with that. Maybe he said something like, "I'll keep my draw vote up as long as you disband, positively towards me," something along those lines. But this means Russia is the only draw holdout. And Goldfinger was saying, "Okay, I am actually still going for the solo here. I'm just playing around with the draw button for negotiation purposes." And of course, the Russians, seeing Army Budapest built, just goes, "No, I'm not going to keep playing. I'm not going to keep my draw vote down just so that you can use yours as a negotiation tool." Hits the draw button, and the game ends. And that's why you don't play games with the draw button. If you don't want the game to draw. So that's really what it came down to here. And
And it was because he built Army Budapest instead of Fleet Trieste.
I think so. It could have been due to further negotiations in the turn, but I think this build had a substantial effect on why Russia chose to vote draw here.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Goldfinger, for building Army Budapest. I don't have to look at this game anymore.
This is
And
true.
instead take my time doing anything else. Like looking at other diplomacy games on this awesome channel, DiploStrats. Wow, we've got so many games to look at and analyze from so many awesome players, world champions alike.
This is true.
Oh my god.
We have a lot of random championship games to catch up on, I'm sure. Although, yeah, this has
Dude,
been.
we've got so many finalists that we have to get to, and we've spent all of our time on this one godforsaken game.
Yes, but man, it's been a journey, and like the. I think it's kind of what the people were playing games with the draw button this late into the game. Like 105 years into the game, someone decided, "I think I'm going to put everything on the 5 center Russia," deciding not to draw the game here because they think they still have a shot at the win.
Yeah.
Well, that is not a gamble you should take, as we
I
have
mean,
proved
okay.
here.
So once again, if we are in the world where you need to get the solo, I think you play whatever games you need to play, man. Do whatever negotiation tactics you can use, because frankly, it's so unlikely you're gonna get the solo anyways. Like, the worst case is that the game draws and you get the 99% chance that you don't solo from these positions.
Mm-hmm.
But of those games where you do solo, I expect a large percentage of them require everything to go your way. So I don't think Goldie deserves that much flack for doing it. Like, I've definitely played games with draw votes and gunboat games where I'm just, hey guys, I'm definitely not trying to solo. I'm just here to lock my position up, and then I take it down. It's rare that I do the brinksmanship of there's only one other person who hasn't voted draw yet. Do I bet it on them? But if I was in a long game where I knew everyone else's motivations, I believe I could make a game like that. I think that's a reasonable play to make.
Well, I mean, sure, yeah. I mean, it is very easy to say in hindsight that yes, it was the wrong move to vote draw here. This is,
Yeah, I mean, it did punish, right? Clearly, he got wrecked for it. So
yes, but also, I mean, his chances were fairly slim anyway, and it did
okay,
stop
yeah,
them having to play for another 100 years.
that's
So.
the question. Did he actually get wrecked for it? Was this actually the worst outcome? I don't think so. I think a worse outcome would be they play the game for another 40 years, as you said. They waste another 3 years real time playing this same game of diplomacy and just needing to check in every day, send your messages, type it out, get your orders in. I don't know. I think I would rather just give up. I
Okay.
like
So I do actually know what the worst possible outcome for Goldfinger would probably have been,
okay.
because of something I said in this earlier in the series that turned out to be wrong actually, and someone in the comments corrected me. I think it might have been, I think it was Jeese, the Russian player, who posted saying Goldfinger thought he needed a 20 center solo to win. This is because in the case of an end game, right? In the case of a game ending, you get points according to either if you solo, you get a lot of points. If you draw, you get points according to how many people are in the draw. Plus, you get a tiebreak score of a few points depending on how many centers you get. You get like plus 1 point per center, I think it is. That is why Goldfinger thought he needed a 20 center solo to win, and he posted about this like during the game, which is why I thought it was the case as well. After the game, people looked into the rules here, especially the Russian player who knew about this all along, apparently, and found out in the case of a solo, you are treated as having 18 centers no matter how many centers you soloed with. So if Austria had got that 20 center solo that he thought he needed to win this tournament, pushed his team just slightly above the others with those extra tiebreak points, he thought he actually wouldn't have, because he would have been treated as having 18 centers, and his team would have come second in the tournament, not
also
first.
worth mentioning though that the GM stopped arbitrating this game at some point,
This is
right?
true. The
So there would have been no one to actually say who won the tournament or not, and it would have just devolved into just nonsense arguments and people flaming each other on the internet, which
well,
would have been the
there was a
greatest.
very clear rulebook, which is exactly why this clause was found. So it would have been clear who had, won. But yes, the tournament director did abandon the tournament partway through because they did not expect it to go on for 3.5 years, which is a fair assessment. But yeah, I think the absolute worst case scenario for Austria would have been if this game had continued, if they had won according to their objectives and then found out they lost the tournament anyway. This is.
That would have been one of the greatest stories ever. Man,
Well,
that's it.
that's
We're done.
it. We are. Has been the 2012 Web Diplomacy World Cup final. All 105 years of it in what was initially planned to be a 24-hour live stream. I'm very glad we did not do a 24-hour live stream.
I mean, we spent basically that much time. We spent what, 30 hours doing this?
Yeah, probably a bit more actually.
All right, let's say like 36. I mean, we could have just gone like 1.5 times as fast. We didn't need to talk about so much nonsense throughout most of these games, right?
Can
Like,
you
could you
imagine how
imagine
tired we would have been?
by the end it would have been absurd and like it would have been so funny to go through whatever the 80s to the 90s when everyone was just NMRing and we were at the end we were just like, can we just get some moves? Do we just hammer through it? But whatever, it's fine.
But
I'm
yeah.
glad we looked at this game. Thank you guys for watching all of this, but Jesus.
Thank you so much for watching. I can't state that enough, especially to people who randomly got recommended this by the YouTube algorithm and had no idea what diplomacy was, and just like because you played Paradox games or such like, got these videos thrown at you. If you made it to this point, wow,
Hey.
you are incredible. This is like,
Yeah.
I don't think I'm even gonna make it to this point if I ever decide to rewatch this. So thank you very
Yeah.
much for watching. And, I mean, I don't even know if I have the power to say this now. This game is over. This series is over. 30 whatever hours is over. That's all from me and Ezio. If there's anything you want to say to sign it off, Ezio, feel free.
We're gonna have other content coming out soon. It's gonna be weird. You're gonna see us talking about a game with different players, people you haven't come to know and love over the past month and a half or so.
Yep. And yeah, keep an eye out for those. And just before we sign off, I will say if you haven't had your fill of this game already, there is a podcast episode by the Diplomacy Games podcast where these players, well, three of these players, Goldfinger, Leaf, and Cheese, are interviewed, especially about the end game here and what exactly happened that led up to this. So I'll leave a link to that in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time for a different game.